Chapter 7:15. Shisheng really wanted to show him what it meant to be presumptuous. But he caught a glimpse of that figure flashing past the corner of the street. Shisheng ignored Duguxiu and quickly chased after her. Duguxiu raised his hand to stop his subordinate from chasing after her. "Your Highness." The subordinate didn't understand. This woman was so disrespectful to the prince. How could he let her run away? Duguxiu narrowed his eyes and looked at the street where Shisheng had disappeared. Send someone to follow her and see what she's up to. He had a feeling that this woman wasn't simple. She didn't seem like a rich young lady trapped in a small county. She seemed more like someone who had seen a lot. There was always a kind of confidence in her. A confidence that bordered on arrogance. It was as if there was nothing in this world that she couldn't do. Duguxiu had never seen such a strange woman. Yes. The subordinate chased after Shisheng. Shisheng didn't catch up with that person. He ran to the busiest street. Shisheng instantly lost track of her. Shisheng put his hands on his hips and sighed slightly. This game was getting more and more interesting. It was much more interesting than those stupid planes. Host, please correct your attitude. This isn't a game. The system didn't want to remind her because it was useless. This isn't a virtual plane? Yes. Then why isn't it a game? I actually have no words to refute. Shisheng turned and walked towards the palace. Entering the palace might be difficult for others, but for Shisheng, it couldn't be any easier. Shisheng found his way to the imperial study where the emperor was. There were people guarding outside. Shisheng went to the back, knocked out the guard, and opened the window to look inside. The first thing he saw was a group of women swaying their hips, and the sound of traditional Chinese instruments. A man wearing a bright yellow dragon robe was sitting crookedly on the dragon throne. He was a little fat and it was hard to tell if he was handsome or not. He hugged women on both sides and enjoyed the service of beauties. Shisheng. Damn. The emperor was really something. The prince regent was about to rebel, yet he was still in the mood to do such things in the imperial study. It had always been rumored that the emperor was licentious and had a harem of 3,000 beauties. It was quite impressive that such a retard could be the emperor for so many years. Shisheng waited outside for a while. He was probably tired from playing. The emperor escorted the beauties to the back to rest. As for what to do, Shisheng didn't want to say anything more. Based on this point alone, she was certain that this fellow was definitely not Feng Xiai. Shisheng shook his head and left the imperial study. There were not many people in the imperial palace. Shisheng was not afraid of being seen, so he swaggered around the imperial palace. Even if someone saw her, no one would suspect her since she was swaggering through the streets. There were many people in the palace to begin with. Sometimes, the children of ministers would enter the palace as well. It was normal for some people they didn't know to appear. In a few days, the one from the residence of Zhenbei will enter the palace. I'm afraid we'll fall out of favor again. On a small path in the distance, a few people slowly appeared. Behind them were quite a few palace maids and eunuchs. Looking at their posture, they were probably the imperial concubines of the palace. The imperial concubine to the side comforted the woman at the very front. His Majesty likes the new and quickly gets tired of the old. She won't be favored for long. Big sister imperial concubinely, you have a prince. What are you afraid of? That's right. His Majesty is still young. Liking the young and beautiful is understandable, but it's different when it comes to imperial children. Big sister imperial concubinely, you have a guarantee. How could it be like us? Imperial concubine Li was a little happy to be praised by these imperial concubines, as she pursed her lips into a smile. Shisheng watched this group of people walk away and shook his head with a strange expression. Did any of these people truly like the emperor? Perhaps there were very few. What they liked was glory and wealth, or perhaps they were forced into the palace and forced to fight for a man's favor. Shisheng left the imperial palace and slowly walked in the direction of the inn. Although the emperor was a good-for-nothing, he had the support of old officials. It was just that they had been weakened by Duguxiu over the past few years. It was possible that the emperor's faction was already lacking. Then the one she needed to deal with was Duguxiu. The male lead Shisheng walked and stopped. His speed was very slow, and the people following behind him were all anxious for him. If you want to leave, then leave. If you don't want to leave, then don't leave. What's the point of walking and stopping? Just as he was about to go crazy, the person in front of him suddenly disappeared without a trace. He was shocked and quickly looked around. There was no place to hide on this street, and she shouldn't have been that fast. In the blink of an eye, she had disappeared. Looking for me? A light voice suddenly sounded above his head. He looked up and saw a young girl sitting on an iron sword that was floating in the air. Her legs were slightly swaying, and with the light behind her, he couldn't clearly see her expression. The night wind blew past, blowing her hair. The dark clouds above his head slowly dispersed, revealing the bright moon. The moonlight scattered down, revealing her face clearly in front of him. She was a very beautiful girl. Her face was the size of a palm, her eyebrows were curved, and the corners of her mouth were slightly curved. You. That person directly fell out of the darkness. Was this a person or a ghost? Or a demon? How could a sword be floating in the air? Shisheng jumped down from the iron sword and slowly approached that person with the iron sword. Why did Duguxiu send you to follow me? The male lead, you look down on people too much. You sent such a retard to follow I. Hearing Shisheng's question, that person's scalp exploded. He trembled and said, I don't know what you're talking about. I was just passing by. I didn't see anything. Let me go. When necessary, he had a special way to save his life. Let you go? Shisheng sneered. Are you dreaming? The iron sword was raised and slashed towards that person. That person only felt a terrible chill pressing down on him. His body was frozen and couldn't move. The cold light gathered into a ball of light, magnifying in his eyes. Regent's residence. Duguxiu stood under the corridor. The moonlight separated the courtyard and the corridor into two worlds. Your Highness, the person who followed Yuan Xiaoyang is dead. The person kneeling behind Duguxiu reported in a low voice. The space was silent. A gust of night wind blew, and the leaves in the courtyard rustled. The shadow on the ground also swayed, like a demon baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. After a long time, Duguxiu's voice sounded. How did he die? A sword to the throat. Where did she go today? That person quickly replied. She went around the palace for a while and disappeared for a while. Our people couldn't follow her. Later, she appeared outside the palace again. The people who followed her were already dead when they found her. She was nowhere to be found. There was another silence. The person kneeling carefully raised his head and looked at the tall figure standing in front of him. Your Highness? Duguxiu raised his hand. Let the shadow go. Do we need to send the shadow? That person was surprised. Duguxiu raised his head. His determined voice sounded in the silent corridor. Kill with one blow. He felt danger from Yuan Xiaoyang. Dangerous things must be eradicated. ## today's loofah-flavored vote # cast your vote monthly votes. Let's go. It's up to you to send me on the list. Good night, everyone sleep early. Chapter 716. Shisheng didn't stay in the same inn as before. Instead, she sat alone in the shadow of the roof where she could see the inn but not others. At about 3 o'clock in the morning, Shisheng saw a few black figures coming from afar and stopping around the inn. Shisheng held her face in her hands as she watched them burn down the inn. Everyone was still guarding the perimeter of the inn. Anyone who ran out was killed without exception. No wonder the system said that the male lead was no longer qualified to be the emperor. He would rather kill 1,000 innocents than let one go. This wasn't the male lead's style. The male lead could be ruthless, but he had to be ruthless to his enemies. Shisheng took out her sword. Let's save the world. The sword of salvation. You should be thankful that you didn't destroy the world, but now you want to save the world? Host, is your syndrome acting up again? Iron sword. My name was changed again. This name is so lame. Shisheng charged over with her sword in hand. But before she reached her destination, the inn suddenly exploded with a bang. A wave of heat washed over her from the front, bringing with it sparks. Shisheng choked on the hot air. The surrounding buildings couldn't withstand the heat wave and collapsed. The wood fell on Shisheng. F***ck. I just wanted to show off. Shisheng quickly retreated. retreating to a safe place before she started cursing. Damn it, I haven't even appeared and I'm already defeated? Why did it have to explode now of all times? My luck is acting up again. Pretentious Shisheng was about to retreat silently. When she turned around, she didn't know when someone was standing behind her. The person was looking at her. Shisheng could only see the outline of a man. You're so cruel. Shisheng looked at him from head to toe. She didn't know him at all, and he wasn't Feng Xiai either. She made up a random story. Dugui? Miss, you know me? The man was surprised and said narcissistically, well, there aren't many girls in the capital who don't know a handsome young man like me. Shisheng. Haha, you're right. A person who appeared in this place must be related to the plot. Was this the narcissist who was about to ascend the throne? Shisheng rolled his eyes and walked toward the alley next to him. I don't want such a retarded person to be the emperor at all. It was better not to do the quest. Host, can you please complete the mission properly? The system was crying in the toilet. You don't want to do the mission just because you're unhappy. Shisheng did not care about the system. She would not do anything that did not go her way. She was not a masochist. Dugui actually followed her. Miss, how can you be so ruthless? Those people are innocent. What does it have to do with me? Shisheng retorted. Hadn't she always been so heartless? Besides, she didn't kill those people. It was the male lead who did it. She wasn't going to take the blame. They're here for you. How is it none of your business? Shisheng paused. Dugui didn't stop in time and almost hit the Shisheng. Shisheng looked at Dugui. Dugui felt a little uncomfortable. He crossed his arms and stepped back, as if Shisheng would do something to him. Shisheng was speechless. This retarded person. How did you know they're here for me? This prince naturally has his own channels. Dugui suddenly flicked his sleeves. He changed his retarded appearance and pretended to be an expert. Miss, I see that you have a good constitution. Do you want to work for this prince? Wasn't the line of having a good constitution followed by a martial arts prodigy? Why did it end with a question of whether to work for him? Do you think I'm an idiot? Shisheng smiled enigmatically. You're being suppressed by Duguxiu. What can I do if I work for you? Who doesn't know how to act pretentious? I am the ancestor of the pretentious world. Duguyi's mouth twitched. Miss, you've offended the regent. You won't have a good ending. Follow this prince and this prince can save your life. Shisheng glanced at Dugui and said indifferently, submit to Duguxiu? Dugui. Why is this girl's word so unpleasant? What does she mean by submitting? He's adapting to the situation. Dugui seemed to want to pull Shisheng into his group. He blindly followed Shisheng. What do you want? This Dugui inexplicably pestered him. Is he crazy? Don't be agitated, don't be agitated. Dugui comforted Shisheng and straightened his face. Miss, are you from the Ruan family? Shisheng frowned. Alarm bells rang in his heart. He turned and ran. There's definitely a hidden plot. I'm not going to do it. Dugui was confused. Why are you running? Shisheng got rid of Dugui and stepped on the iron sword to leave the capital. When the host is willful, no one can compare. Shisheng stayed in the capital for a while. When he returned to Baihe County, it was already covered in white snow. Shisheng ran back to the Ruan residence. Qiu Shui had been worried about Shisheng. Seeing that he came back safe and sound, her heart that was in her throat finally calmed down. Miss, did anything happen on the way back? Qiu Shui looked at Shisheng anxiously. At first, she didn't agree with Miss going to the capital alone. However, Miss actually left a letter and left secretly. She sent people to chase after her, but they couldn't catch her. Shisheng shook his head. I'm fine. That's good. Miss, you're the head of the Ruan family. Don't do such things in the future. If something really happens, what will happen to the Ruan residents? Shisheng. Wouldn't you be able to become the head of the household? Shisheng threw this indecent thought away. What happened recently? Qiu Shui immediately became serious. There are a few things that are related to Suyu. The villagers of Baihe village don't farm our fields. They followed Suyu to the Li family's fields. I don't know what agreement Suyu made with the Li family, but she only took 30% of their rent. So you also cooperated with someone in the county and opened a restaurant called Roast Duck. The business is very good. Shisheng. A must-have for transmigration novels. Roast Duck. Roast duck had existed since ancient times and was popular in every dimension. Miss, there's no one farming in Baiha village. What will happen next spring? Qiu Shui was a little worried. Baiha village had a lot of land. If there was no one farming, it would be barren. Shisheng pursed his lips. Hire people to farm it. Hire people? We'll talk about it when the time comes. Shisheng waved his hand. Anyway, it's okay if it's empty. Our family doesn't lack that bit of money. Shisheng sighed. Baiha County was indeed more suitable for showing off. In a place like the capital, one had to calculate every little bit of money. Qiu Shui. Hashtag my miss always wants to squander. Hashtag while Suyu's life was getting more and more prosperous, Shisheng was holed up in the Ruan residence. He didn't leave the house at all. The winter in Baiha County was very cold. In this world without heating or air conditioning, Shisheng only wanted to kill himself and go back home. No matter what he did, he would wear a ball. Even moving his arms was tiring. Chapter 717. Shisheng didn't move much during the entire winter. Spring was coming. Baiha County, which had been quiet for a long time, gradually became lively again. Suer's Roast Duck restaurant had already opened its second branch. Shisheng had asked someone to buy the roast duck and try it. It didn't taste very good, but it was definitely delicious compared to the food in ancient times. Now, if you wanted to eat Suer's roast duck, you had to make an appointment. Miss, Suer wants to take over our restaurant in the east of the city. Qiu Shui walked in angrily. Shisheng rocked his taffy chair and ate the exquisite snacks. He asked casually, which restaurant? The restaurant in the east of the city. Qiu Shui walked in front of Shisheng. If you don't want to take over, just give it to her. Shisheng stuffed the last bit of snack into his mouth. Miss. Qiu Shui raised her voice. We also want to take over that restaurant. The contract is about to expire in a month. Suer got the news from somewhere and went to talk to the owner. Now the owner wants to give the restaurant to Suer. Shisheng. Female lead. Hey, I haven't done anything to you recently. Why do you want to get into trouble? How's the business? Shisheng sat up straight. It's pretty good. It's one of the top few restaurants in our restaurant. There was a lot of traffic there. Also, they hired skilled chefs. The monthly income was considerable. Shisheng asked Qiu Shui to meet with the owner. However, the owner refused to meet with Shisheng. In other words, he didn't want to rent the restaurant to her, no matter how much money she offered. Shisheng went to find the owner personally. When he reached the door, he saw Suer and a man coming out. The two of them were chatting happily. The man sent Suer to the door and returned to his residence. Suer hummed a tune as she walked down the stairs. When she saw Shisheng standing not far away, she raised her eyebrows at Shisheng. Wan Xiaoyang, you're late. Shisheng looked at her and didn't say anything. He turned and left. It was Suer's ability to deal with the owner. Suer felt like she was punching cotton. She was a little frustrated. This Wan Xiaoyang, she always looked down on her. Just you wait. Miss, someone is looking for you. As soon as Shisheng returned to the mansion, he was informed by the servants of the Ruan mansion that someone was looking for her. Who is it? I don't know him. From his accent, he seems to be from Beijing. The servant shook his head. Beijing. A few figures flashed through Shisheng's mind, but he didn't know who they were. He followed the servant to the living room. When she saw who it was, she just wanted to throw the person out. The man in the living room was holding a cup of tea and blowing on the floating tea leaves. There was light and shadow coming in from outside. He raised his head slightly and a smile immediately appeared on his handsome face. He put down his teacup. Miss Ruan, I trust you have been well since we last met. Shisheng walked in expressionlessly. What are you doing here? I'm not interested in any hidden plot or whatnot. Miss Ruan, you're really hard to find. Dugu Yi sighed and said, I came all the way here to find you, and my legs are about to break. If you don't give me a smile, at least give me a greeting, right? After that night, she seemed to have disappeared and couldn't be found. Not only was he unable to find it, but Duguxiu's men were also unable to find it. When he finally found it, she had a look of disdain on her face. Don't ask him how he could see the disdain on her expressionless face. He just saw it. Shisheng raised his eyebrows slightly and asked righteously, "Did I ask you to find me? Dugu-yi, why are you looking for me?" Dugu-yi coughed and said seriously, "Duguxiu's men have come to Baiha County. He seems to be here too. Why are you looking for me?" Shisheng's tone became more serious. Did he need to specially come here to remind Duguxiu that he was here? They were not relatives and had only met once. "I'm here to recruit talents." "Recruit your head." Shisheng ordered people to throw Dugu-yi out. She didn't want to see this idiot for even a minute. "Miss Wan, have you heard?" "Hey wait, Miss Wan, listen to me." Dugu-yi was thrown out of the Wan residence. The door closed in front of him, almost pinching his nose. Dugu-yi touched his nose and knocked on the door. "Open the door." "Wan Xiaoyang, open the door." Dugu-yi knocked on the door for a long time, but no one opened the door for him. No one paid attention to him. After knocking for a while, Dugu-yi probably felt bored and left the Ruan residence. However, Dugu-yi was a person who didn't want to give up. He came to the Ruan residence every day to report. Soon the people of Baiha County were spreading the news. Dugu-yi was handsome and well-dressed. Some of the girls in Baiha County gathered to watch Dugu-yi. "Young master, I saw that you've been guarding the Ruan residence for a few days. Does Ruan Xiaoyang owe you money?" Someone asked Dugu-yi curiously. "No." Dugu-yi knocked on the door while answering. He didn't look at who asked the question. "If she doesn't owe you money, why are you guarding the Ruan residence all day?" I'm looking for Ruan Xiaoyang." The person who asked the question replied ambiguously and said sweetly, "Young master, what do you think of me? Although my family can't be compared to Ruan Xiaoyang, I can guarantee that you won't have to worry about food and clothing." Dugu-yi was confused. He turned his head and was frightened by the big flat face in front of him. He stepped back and leaned against the door with a pale face. The girl with a very fat body was looking at him shyly. "Young master." Dugu-yi swallowed with difficulty. The voice was quite nice, but why was this person so? She was so fat that she almost turned into a ball. Scared this prince to death. "Miss." Dugu-yi swallowed with difficulty. "Young master, as long as you marry into my family's property will be yours." The girl with the big face kept blinking with a shy expression. "Ruan Xiaoyang is a shrew. How can she be more considerate than me?" "Young master, you should go with me." The girl with the big face wanted to pull Dugu-yi away. Dugu-yi was so scared that he stepped back. However, the door was behind him, and he had nowhere to go. The girl with the big face even brought a few people. It was obvious that she was going to rob him. Dugu-yi was really scared. He didn't expect a girl from a small county to be so fierce. He, a prince, was going to be robbed. Ruan Xiaoyang, come out quickly. Someone is going to die." Dugu-yi reached out and knocked on the door, shouting at the top of his voice. "Young master, Ruan Xiaoyang won't come out even if you shout until your throat is broken." The girl with the big face had been observing for a long time. She had shouted so many times, but she had never seen anyone from the Ruan residence come out. And that day, she saw the people from the Ruan residence throw this young master out. She had never seen such a good-looking man in her life. She must snatch him back to be her son-in-law. Ruan Xiaoyang. Dugu-yi wanted to kill the Shisheng now. Why did he come to this damned place? Whether Ruan Xiaoyang was alive or dead, it had nothing to do with him. It was good that he was alive. "Ruan Xiaoyang, get out here for this prince." Chapter 7:18. Li Honghong. A coquettish voice came from the bottom of the stairs. Suer's figure quickly rushed up the stairs and pointed at the big-faced lady. "You're snatching men again." The big-faced lady seemed to be very unwilling to see Suer. Her chubby hand slapped at Suer as she said angrily, "Suer, mind your own business. What right do you have to interfere with what I do? Your father asked me to teach you." Suer avoided her hand and puffed out her chest, fearlessly facing the big-faced lady. "Do you want your father to know what you've done?" The moment Suer mentioned her father, The big-faced lady was terrified. She looked around and saw that there was no one around, so she became bold again. She pointed at Suer's nose. Suer, don't think that I'm afraid of you just because you have my father's support. I'm going to bring him back today. Dugi. I know that I'm handsome and suave, but I can't stand such a hardcore lady. Wan Xiaoyang. Dugu started banging on the door again. Creak. Duguyi's back was against the door. At this moment, the door was opened from the inside. Dugu fell in and landed on his back, just in time to see a figure approaching. Suer and Li Honghong, who were arguing, also stopped and looked at the person inside. You're arguing in my Ruan residence? Shisheng glanced at Suer. Who gave you the guts to do so? Suer's meddlesome personality appeared again. Wan Xiaoyang. This gentleman has been looking for you for so long, but you didn't come out to meet him. Can't you talk to him clearly? Shisheng looked at the retarded Dugu. Dugu looked at Suer in confusion. He didn't know her. Really? Suer, aren't you meddling too much? Autumn Water couldn't help but say. When did an outsider have the right to criticize her, miss? I just can't stand Ruan Xiaoyang's behavior. Suer righteously spoke up for Dugu. This gentleman has been waiting here for so many days. Everyone in Baihe County knows about him. It's too impolite of you to do this. Shisheng. What does it have to do with you whether I'm polite or not? Can you mind your own business and not the Pacific Ocean? That's right, that's right. Ruan Xiaoyang. What are your intentions for letting such a handsome young master stand outside your house? Li Honghong actually agreed with Suer's nod. Shisheng smiled and said, close the door. Since you people don't want to see him so much, then this bao bao will satisfy you. I'm such an amiable and approachable person. King retard. The servant standing by the door immediately pushed the door open and shut Suer and Li Honghong outside. Li Honghong tried her best to open her eyes wide. Looking at Dugu who was still inside, she let out a mournful cry, young master. He was still inside. Suer, it's all because of you. Li Honghong pointed her spear at Suyu again. It was all because of this woman that Ruan Xiaoyang let that mister into the residence. If it wasn't for her sudden appearance, she would have already carried that mister back. The more Li Honghong thought about it, the angrier she got. She stepped forward and slapped Suyu. It's all because of you, you bitch. Who told you to complain to my father? Who told you to stop me? Li Honghong scratched and pulled at Suer's hair and clothes. Li Honghong, stop. Ah. Li Honghong, you're crazy. Li Honghong's weight had an overwhelming advantage. She completely suppressed Suer. In the residence, Dugu was still sitting on the ground. Shisheng stood beside him. Screams could be heard from outside. Dugu had goosebumps when he heard it. How could this woman be so scary? He suddenly realized that this woman in front of him wasn't so evil after all. Miss Ruan. Dugu stood up from the ground. This time he didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. I'm looking for you because someone asked me to. Do you know Sir Fan? He asked me to take care of you for a while. If Sir Fan wasn't his teacher, he would never have agreed to Sir Fan's request. He had to run from the capital to such a desolate place to suffer. Sir Fan? Why does he want you to take care of me? Didn't Sir Fan say in the letter that Dugu whereabouts were unknown? Was he lying to her? And now he wanted Dugu to take care of her? What was the meaning of this? Sir Fan and Father Ruan had been friends for many years. When Father Ruan had passed away, Sir Fan had personally come to offer his condolences. You should ask Sir Fan about this. I don't know. He didn't want to know about these things. He just wanted to live well. The timing doesn't match, Shisheng said calmly. Dugu was confused. What time? When did Sir Fan ask you to take care of me? Dugu frowned and thought for a while. Around September last year. In September, she was still in Baihe County. She hadn't written to Sir Fan. Why would he ask Dugu to take care of her then? Dugu said. I was going to look for you at that time, but I was delayed by personal matters. Then I met you in the capital. But before he could finish, she ran away. How did you know it was me? They'd never met. How did he know it was her? Dugu brushed the hair hanging in front of his chest. This prince still has spies in the capital. Dugu Xiu is investigating you, so this prince naturally knows. Shi Sheng frowned. There was nothing wrong with this explanation. When she was in the capital, she didn't hide her whereabouts. It was easy for someone to find her. So now there was only one question. Why did Sir Fan ask Dugu Yi to take care of her so early? Shi Sheng wasn't someone who liked to be confused. If she couldn't figure it out, she wouldn't think about it. When the time was right, the questions would naturally be answered. You can go back. I don't need any help. Please thank Sir Fan for his kindness. She had many ways to save her life. She didn't need a retarded burden. Dugu Yi's eyes lit up. He said hurriedly, "That's what you said. No, you have to write a letter to me so that I can report back to Sir Fan." Shi Sheng. What a sensible prince. No wonder he could survive until the end. Shi Sheng really did write a letter to Dugu Yi. He told him to take the letter and get out of here. Dugu Yi happily left the Ruan residence with the letter. However, in less than an hour, Dugu Yi ran back nervously. "Dugu Xiu. I saw Dugu Xiu," Dugu Yi said, panting. Shi Sheng looked at him with disdain. "So what if you saw him? Was Dugu Xiu a monster with 3 heads and 6 arms? What was there to be afraid of?" Dugu Yi glared at Shi Sheng. "Dugu Xiu brought his army and blocked the entrance of Baihe County. I can't go out now. There was only one way out of Baihe County. If he went out, he would definitely be discovered by Dugu Xiu's men. He still wanted to live a good life in the capital. He didn't want to go against Dugu Xiu." Shi Sheng asked curiously, "Dugu Xiu doesn't know that you left the capital?" "Of course not." Dugu Yi rolled his eyes at Shi Sheng. "Then he's not that powerful." Shi Sheng pursed his lips. He didn't even know that this retarded person left the capital. Chapter 719. Dugu Yi didn't tell Dugu Xiu the details of how he left the capital. Anyway, he couldn't leave Baihe County now. He had to stay in Shi Sheng's residence. Dugu Yi was a scoundrel and a slick person. It could be seen from how he stayed in the Ruan residence. Dugu Yi was someone who would do anything to save his life. Shi Sheng suspected that he would even agree to disguise as a girl. Dugu Xiu didn't hide his identity this time. Soon everyone in Baihe County knew that the regent was here. Shi Sheng went to look at Dugu Xiu without fear of death. Dugu Yi dressed up as a middle-aged man and followed beside Shi Sheng. "Ruan Xiaoyang, this prince. Why are you here to see him? He's the one who wants your life. Why are you following me? Damn, this idiot who was afraid of death. It wasn't good to stay in the residence. Why did he have to follow her? There was cat biscuits. I'm here to see what he's here for." Dugu Yi looked around with shifty eyes, causing the people around him to look back. Shi Sheng face-bombed. "When you're a thief, don't think of yourself as a thief. Stay calm." Shi Sheng silently moved to the side. "Stay away from idiots and cherish life." Shi Sheng saw Su Yu in the crowd. She seemed to have been pulled here by someone. When she saw Dugu Xiu, who was surrounded by so many people, Su Yu was a little confused. Dugu Xiu and the county magistrate talked for a while. Then the people around him stood up and motioned for the crowd to quiet down. This time, the prince is here for the selection of girls in the palace. If there are any girls of suitable age in your family, report to the county government. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Selection? Why was the selection in Baihe County? This doubt flashed through their minds. Soon these people were only happy. If their daughters entered the palace and were favored, they would soar to the sky. Selection? Dugu Yi scratched his ear. Why didn't I hear about this? It's obviously an excuse. Shi Sheng rolled his eyes at Dugu Yi. Of course this prince knows. Dugu Yi couldn't change his words. After he finished speaking, he covered his mouth. When he saw that no one was looking, he continued. Don't you think this excuse is strange? Of all the excuses, they had to use the talent show. Shi Sheng was silent. He was probably here for the female lead. Did Dugu Xiu marry that, whatever northern general's daughter? Shi Sheng asked out of the blue. I did. Dugu Yi nodded. Shi Sheng observed a moment of silence for the female lead. Do you know why Dugu Xiu wants to marry her? Dugu Yi leaned closer to Shi Sheng and couldn't wait to share the news he knew with Shi Sheng. Military power? The northern general had a large number of troops under his command. Dugu Xiu married his daughter for military power. Dugu Yi extended a finger. This is only one of them. Shi Sheng's mouth twitched. There was a second one. Dugu Yi nodded, his eyes burning with the flames of gossip. The only thing missing was a row of words written on his face. Hurry up and ask me, hurry up and ask me, hurry up and ask me. Shi Sheng was not interested and did not want to ask. However, Dugu Yi couldn't hold it in anymore. Let me tell you. He and the woman from the general's residence had a secret affair long ago. He had no choice but to marry her. Shi Sheng was shocked. How did you know? I bumped into them. Dugu Yi said proudly. Shi Sheng was speechless. He didn't understand why Dugu Yi was so proud. The last time he returned to the capital to attend the Northern General's birthday banquet, Dugu Xiu should have been drugged in. Dugu Yi extended his hand to meet hers. He gave Shi Sheng a "you know what I mean" look. And he was caught red-handed by the Northern General. Do you think he wouldn't marry her? Shi Sheng was speechless. She was still a girl. Was it really okay to be so explicit with her? But the male lead had actually been set up by someone? Amazing. He had already predicted the death of the Northern General's family. Dugu Xiu had already entered the yamen with the cowering county magistrate. Shi Sheng saw Dugu Xiu's men bringing the female lead to the back door of the yamen. The crowd dispersed one after another. Most people went to spread the good news. The selection of girls in the palace was a temptation for many people. They envisioned how much glory and wealth they would have after entering the palace. But after entering the palace, they realized that reality was much crueler than they had imagined. Many people brought their daughters to report to the county yamen. After a round of selection, only a few good-looking girls were left. Miss, bad news. Someone from the yamen is asking you to go to the county yamen. Qiu Shui rushed in from outside. Shi Sheng slowly opened her eyes. In the end, the fire still managed to reach me. Mr. Plot, you're not dead yet. Miss, what should we do? I heard that all the good-looking girls have been selected. With your looks, you'll definitely be selected. If Miss was selected, what would happen to the Ruan family? Let's go and have a look. Shi Sheng slowly got up and patted her wrinkled skirt. She said arrogantly, let's go and see what these idiots want to do to me. Miss, you can't go. Qiu Shui blocked in front of Shi Sheng. She was so anxious that her eyes turned red. I'm not going. They won't stop. Shi Sheng patted Qiu Shui's head. I'll wait for news at home. They won't dare to do anything to me. Mississippi, Qiu Shui's tears had accumulated in her eyes. If she blinked, they would fall out. Shi Sheng smiled gently and walked around Qiu Shui. Qiu Shui bit her lip. She made up her mind and chased after Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng didn't stop her, and let her follow her. There were still some girls lingering in the yamen. They were all rejected and were unwilling to accept it. As soon as Shi Sheng appeared, these people started pointing at Shi Sheng and whispering, look, the one from the Ruan family is here. She should be selected, right? Then why are you still talking? If Ruan Xiaoyang enters the palace, what will happen to the Ruan family? They have so much property. If Ruan Xiaoyang isn't around, won't they be? Shi Sheng walked past these people without looking sideways. Qiu Shui glared at these people angrily. They only knew how to gossip. When he entered the yamen, Shi Sheng saw a familiar face. Ding Xiang. She was being supported by a servant girl, and was crying. A middle-aged man stood beside her. He was probably Ding Xiang's father. At this moment, his expression was also ugly. Ding Xiang pushed the servant girl away and grabbed Father Ding's arm. Her voice was choked with sobs. Father, I don't want to enter the palace. I'm engaged to second young master he. Daughter, I have no choice. Father Ding sighed. What could ordinary people like them do about a decision made by the higher-ups? The people couldn't fight with the officials. Father Ding waved his hand. Go in first. I'll talk to the Lord. Ding Xiang sniffled as she made her way inside. She just so happened to enter the yamen at the same time as Shi Sheng. She lifted her eyes to look at Shi Sheng. Perhaps because they were in the same boat, Ding Xiang lowered her head without a sound. Chapter 720. In the government office, The county magistrate was waiting for the families who didn't send anyone over. He also had a headache. These people wanted to bribe him, but the regent was here. He didn't dare to accept it. Seeing that he couldn't accept the money, the county magistrate's heart ached. But when he saw Shisheng, his heart didn't ache anymore. His entire body ached. This woman was his worst nightmare. Miss Ruan. The county magistrate quickly stood up from his chair and kicked the person beside him. Quickly get a chair for Miss Ruan. Ding Xiang and Father Ding arrived at the same time. Seeing the county magistrate like this, they felt it was strange. Why was he trying to please Ruan Xiaoyang? Shisheng sat at ease. The county magistrate didn't dare to provoke Shisheng. He turned to look at Father Ding and Ding Xiang. Old Master Ding, Miss Ding. Father Ding bowed. Sir. Greetings to sir. Ding Xiang had just cried, so her voice was hoarse. But it wasn't unpleasant. Instead, it was a little seductive. Father Ding wanted to speak, but the county magistrate waved his hand and said awkwardly, Old Master Ding, I can't make the decision. He glanced in another direction. Miss Ding's age and appearance meet the selection requirements. Old Master Ding, don't be reluctant. Once you enter the palace, you will be able to enjoy glory and wealth, and bring glory to your ancestors. Father. Ding Xiang tugged at Father Ding's sleeve. She didn't want to enter the palace. She wanted to be with He Ting. Father Ding walked towards the county magistrate and used his sleeve to block his view. He stuffed something into the county magistrate's hand. Sir, I only have one daughter. If you help me think of a way, I will definitely thank you. The county magistrate pinched the stack of banknotes that Father Ding stuffed into his hand. His mouth twitched in pain. After a while he pushed it back. Old Master Ding, it's not that I don't want to help you this time. I really have no choice. If I help you, I'm afraid I won't be able to keep my official position. The county magistrate quickly asked someone to record it. Father Ding sighed and shook his head. If it was someone else, he could still give them money. But this time it was the regent. How would he dare to give the regent money? Miss Ruan. After the county magistrate dealt with Ding Xiang, he forced a smile. Look, if there's no problem, I'll record it. There's a problem. Shisheng looked up at the county magistrate. The county magistrate's legs were weak. He supported himself on the table next to him to stand firm. Miss Ruan, what's the problem? I won't enter the palace. This official can't make the decision. If he could make the decision, his hands would have cramped up from counting the money. When he woke up this morning, his eyelids kept twitching. He knew that something was going to happen. This Ruan Xiaoyang was not easy to deal with. The county magistrate secretly waved his hand at the person beside him. He meant to ask someone to get the regent. If he couldn't handle someone, he would ask the regent to help. The county magistrate didn't show it on his face. He persuaded the Shisheng to stall for time. Miss Ruan, it's actually quite good to enter the palace. Many girls want to enter the palace but can't. Look at those girls outside. You have such a good opportunity. You must cherish it. Enter the palace to wait for death? Shisheng raised his eyebrows. What kind of place is the palace? If you enter without any background, you won't even know if you're killed. Ding Xiang, who hadn't left yet, turned pale when she heard Shisheng's words. She clutched her father's hand tightly. The magistrate was sweating profusely. You can't say that. Then what should I say? The county magistrate was speechless. How would he know what to say? Why wasn't the regent here yet? Duguxiu was late. The county magistrate acted as if he had found his backbone, and ran over quickly. Your Highness. The latter nodded slightly and looked at Shisheng, who was still sitting on the chair without any movement. Ding Xiang's father and Ding Xiang knelt down to greet Duguxiu. How dare you, wicked woman? Why don't you kneel when you see the regent? Duguxiu's confidant shouted at Shisheng. Is he worthy? Shisheng glanced at the confidant with an arrogant and disdainful expression. How dare you? Shisheng raised his head slightly. There seemed to be a smile on his face, but it also seemed like there was nothing. So what if I'm impudent? The county magistrate stood beside Duguxiu. He was sweating profusely and was terrified. She even dared to talk back to the regent. Did this Ruan Xiaoyang want to die? The confidant shouted angrily. You wicked woman! He took a few steps toward Shisheng and reached out to grab Shisheng's hair. How could Qiu Shui stand by and watch? She went forward to block Shisheng. The confidant grabbed Qiu Shui's hair. Her neatly combed hair fell apart instantly. The confidant pulled her hair and threw her to the side. Ah! Qiu Shui was in pain. She used both hands to protect her hair, but the confidant was very strong. Qiu Shui's scalp tensed up. Shisheng kicked the confidant almost at the same time. The place where he kicked was as sharp as usual. Ah! The confidant's scream was much louder than Qiu Shui's. He let go of his hands and covered his crotch. His body was slightly bent, and his face was full of pain. Shisheng helped Qiu Shui up. Are you okay? Qiu Shui's hair was loose and her eyes were slightly red. She shook her head slightly. I'm fine. Shisheng looked at Qiu Shui's scalp. Some of her hair had been pulled off. When he reached out his hand, it was all hair. Shisheng's face darkened. He gently tidied up her hair. In the next second, he pulled out his sword without any warning. Everyone only saw the flash of the sword. The confidant who was still wailing just now had his eyes wide open and slowly fell to the ground. Fresh blood seeped out of his body and slowly flowed on the ground. Ah! Murder! Ding Xiang was so frightened that she hid in Father Ding's arms. Du Guxiu was enraged. Ruan Xiaoyang, do you still have me in your eyes? No. Shisheng had an honest face. You're not good looking. Why should I have you in my eyes? You exist deep in the female lead's mind. How can a great Buddha like me tolerate a retard like you? Miss. Qiu Shui's face was pale. She pulled Shisheng's sleeve slightly. How could Miss kill someone in front of the regent? It's over, it's over. Something bad is going to happen. It's all her fault. If it weren't for her, Miss wouldn't have done it. She didn't know if she could take the blame for Miss later. Wan Xiaoyang has no respect for the law. She beat him to death. Du Guxiu said in a low voice. Shisheng glanced at Du Guxiu. His gaze was too sarcastic. Du Guxiu had a bad feeling. However, his dignity was challenged. Du Guxiu didn't withdraw his order. In the end, Du Guxiu's confidant was beaten up by Shisheng. After such a long time, Shisheng had some spiritual energy in his body. Although he couldn't fight with his bare hands, with the help of the iron sword, it wasn't a problem for him to kill a van of people. Du Guxiu, don't you dare have any ideas about I. Shisheng pointed the iron sword at Du Guxiu. Do you think you're so great just because you're the regent? I want the world to have whatever surname I want it to have. Du Guxiu's face was ashen. He glared at Shisheng viciously. This woman wasn't arrogant. She was arrogant and conceited. There were so many capable people in history. None of them dared to say that they could have whatever surname they wanted the world to have. Who gave her such confidence? #hashtag today's leak-flavored vote #December 22nd, 2016. Winning prize in book review area, dieting. It's the end of the month again. Begging for votes. Begging for votes. Send me to the rankings. Chapter 721. Shisheng left with the dumbfounded Qiu Shui. The people who wanted to stop Shisheng scattered when she was about to swing her sword. If this cold sword were to land on their bodies, would they still be able to survive? Miss. Qiu Shui followed behind Shisheng. Will anything happen if we offend the Prince Regent? Of course. If they offended the male lead, would they still have a good life? What should we do? Qiu Shui was anxious. Let's leave Baihe County quickly and hide outside. Shisheng said calmly. There are Du Guxiu's people outside. Where can you hide? The number of people she offended could circle the universe. What was there to be afraid of when it came to Du Guxiu? At most she would die. Host, your way of thinking is really dangerous. My host always treats the mission as a game. If she dies, she can rewind and start over. Waiting online. Urgent. Qiu Shui was so anxious that she didn't know where to put her hands and feet. Her heart was in a mess. When they returned to the Ruan residence, Shisheng asked Qiu Shui to rest. Qiu Shui was not in the mood to rest. She walked around Shisheng and gave Shisheng all kinds of ideas. They had heard about the Prince Regent in such a remote Baihe County. Today, Miss killed someone in front of the Prince Regent. and was so disrespectful. Would the Rouen residents survive? Miss, why are you still so calm? Think of something. Sheng had a headache. What could he do? He had offended her. Why don't you go back to the village? Qiu Shui glared. What about you? What was the use of her going back to the village? I have to rebel. Didn't Du Gai want to be the emperor? She would not let him be the emperor. Anyway, if you don't let I have a good life, I won't let you have a good life either. Going through hardships together was the truth. When Du Gai entered, he happened to hear this sentence. He staggered and almost bumped into the vase by the door. Du Gai held the vase. Miss Rouen, how dare you say this? Qiu Shui was shocked. She turned around and said in a panic, Master Du, how can you barge into Miss' room? Du Gui was innocent. He didn't want to break in. He was scared by Sheng's words. Ahem. Du Gui coughed dryly, let go of the vase, turned around and knocked on the door. Sheng. This idiot. Autumn Water wanted to stop Du Gui, but Du Gui had already walked in. He approached the Sheng in a few steps and asked curiously, Miss Rouen, I heard that you dealt with Du Guxiu's men at the Yamen today? You're quite well informed. Sheng looked at him faintly. Du Gui didn't refute anything. This time, you've really offended Du Guxiu. Oh, what's with your reaction? Du Gui didn't understand. Aren't you afraid that Du Guxiu will deal with the Rouen clan? You can escape alone, but can your Rouen clan escape with so many people? Why are you running? Why aren't you running? That was Du Guxiu, Prince Regent. The Prince Regent who could make a river of blood flow if he frowned. Sheng yawned. The winner takes all. If I'm killed by Du Guxiu, then it's because I'm not as good as him. I have nothing to say. Du Gui's mouth twitched. You're quite optimistic. Sheng suddenly smiled confidently. Because I know that I can't be killed by an idiot. Du Gui. If the Prince Regent was an idiot, then what were they? I'm very curious. Where did you get your confidence from? Du Gui squeezed out a sentence after a long while. Sheng looked at Du Gui and opened his mouth slightly. I was born with it. Ahem. Du Gui choked on his saliva. He turned to ask Qiu Shui, how did your miss survive until now without being beaten to death? Qiu Shui. Miss wasn't like this in the past. Ever since she came back that time, she became strange. She always thought that Miss was agitated, but now, Miss wasn't agitated at all. She was simply crazy. It's not that I want to nag at you, Ruan Xiaoyang, but do you really want to rebel? Du Gui returned to the original topic. Du Gui was probably the only prince who was so interested in rebellion. Du Gui was probably the only one who was so retarded. I don't want to. Du Gui glared at him. You said it just now. You heard wrong. Sheng looked serious. Du Gui looked at Qiu Shui and asked silently, did I hear wrong? His ears were quite good. How could he have heard wrongly? Qiu Shui didn't dare to nod or shake her head. She simply lowered her head and didn't speak. Du Gui didn't believe it. He definitely didn't hear wrongly. Then what did you say just now? Sheng looked righteous. Get rid of treacherous officials and uphold justice. Host, don't you feel embarrassed when you say this? You actually dare to say the words uphold justice. This system wants to slap a bunch of gibberish on your face. Do you know how to write the words uphold justice? Du Gui suspected that he had heard wrongly. Miss Rouen, say it again. Sheng rolled his eyes. Idiot. Du Gui felt an internal injury. No, he couldn't talk to this woman anymore. Sooner or later he would get a heart attack. Du Guxiu's actions were very fast. All of the Rouen family's shops in Baihe County were forcefully closed down at the same time. The reason for the closure was directly given by Du Guxiu. All of Baihe County's citizens were shocked. What did the Rouen family do? Most of the people in the Rouen family's shops were arrested and locked in the county's prison. The Rouen residence was also tightly surrounded by Du Guxiu's army. The entire Rouen residence was in a mess. Sheng, the main character, leisurely walked from the backyard to the front gate. The panicking servants calmed down when they saw Sheng's leisurely appearance. Miss will definitely have a way. Yes. Miss is so powerful. We have to believe in her. Believe in Mississippi, the servants cheered each other on. Shisheng's calm gaze swept across them. The corners of his lips curled up. Do what you need to do. The group of people looked at each other and saluted at the same time. Yes, Mississippi. Shisheng walked slowly to the gate. The servants guarding the gate were so panicked that they were trembling. They were afraid that the group of people outside would barge in. When Shisheng appeared, the servants heaved a sigh of relief. Mississippi, open the gate. This. The servant hesitated. The soldiers outside were all armed. Shisheng looked at him. The servant immediately lowered his head. Yes. The two of them worked together to open the gate. The scene outside the gate slowly expanded through the gap, until it was completely presented to Shisheng's vision. The armored soldiers surrounded the Ruan residence so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. In the distance, the commoners who were watching were pointing at the Ruan residence. When the gate of the Ruan residence opened, everyone's attention was immediately focused on the gate. A dark blue figure gradually appeared in everyone's line of sight. The beautiful young girl had her arms crossed in front of her chest. When the gate opened, the wind blew up her skirt. The jade bracelet on her waist swayed. She calmly looked outside. It was as if she wasn't facing an army that was here to seize her house. Chapter 722. Ever since Suyu got together with Du Guxiu, Du Guxiu ordered her to live in the county office. Du Guxiu even handed over the clothes shops to Suyu to manage. The citizens of White River County were more or less dissatisfied with the way they were abusing their authority for personal gain, especially the merchants who were eyeing these shops. If the Ruan family was unlucky, these shops would be confiscated. However, the government office could not manage these shops, so they could only sell them back to the merchants. They could not keep an eye on them when they were taking advantage of the situation. Now that the little girl from the Ruan family was fine, the regent gave the shops to Suyu. How could these people not have any objections? However, Suyu was the regent's favorite. They could only call her a vixen behind her back. At the Ruan residence, Qiu Shui was the first to hear the news. She rushed over to find Shisheng. Miss, the regent is too much. Nothing had happened to her miss yet. How could he give it to Suyu? Just give it to her if she wants it, Shisheng said nonchalantly. Miss, can you be a little nervous? There are people outside the residence, and the shops are gone. Shisheng waved his hand. Don't blame him. Just eat and sleep well. Look at your dark circles. Go back and rest. Qiu Shui wanted to cry. It would be strange if she could sleep. It was a matter of life and death. Shisheng disappeared from Qiu Shui's sight. She did not want to hear anyone talk about it. Du Guxiu's consort selection had ended. However, because of Shisheng, he asked people to bring the girls back to the capital first. It was said that Ding Xiang did not escape even when she tried to commit suicide. As for He Ting, he was locked up in the He family. He was not allowed to go out at all. He could only occasionally hear about what happened outside from the servants. When he heard that Suyu and Du Guxiu were together, He Ting drowned his sorrows in alcohol. He was extremely dispirited. The Su family naturally knew that Suyu had a relationship with Du Guxiu. They came to find Suyu and caused a lot of trouble. The worst time was when Su Er's mother slapped Su Er, saying that she was ungrateful. Du Guxiu almost killed Su Er's mother on the spot, but Su Er stopped him, and Su Er's mother was spared. Su Er had also severed ties with the Su family at that time, and had given them enough money to buy her sister from them. After the Su family received the money, they really didn't look for Suyu again. Su Er was a female lead who wanted to become a millionaire, so even though the male lead promised to marry her, she continued to work on her career. After getting the shops from the Ruan family, Su Er immediately started to take over other businesses. Delicacies, trendy clothes, and jewelry quickly gained the favor of the girls in White River County. Su Er's business was doing quite well, and with the regent in charge, no one dared to make trouble for her. Du Guxiu couldn't do anything to the Shisheng, so he kept attacking the Ruan family's businesses. He first seized them in the name of the government, and then gave them to Suyu. In the end, the only thing left of the Ruan family was that house. Even Dugu Yi, the temporary resident, began to feel anxious. He kept wandering around in front of the Shisheng. Ruan Xiaoyang, your family is poor now, yet you still have the mood to sunbathe here? What else can I do? Shisheng shifted to a more comfortable position. Aren't you so arrogant? Go and take it back. Dugu Yi slammed the table next to him. Shisheng raised his hand and brushed his hair that was messed up by the wind. You just want to see me and Du Guxiu fight each other, right? How can I be that kind of person? Dugu Yi immediately retorted. I want to see you and Du Guxiu fight in a battle of wits and courage. It's much more interesting than the people in the capital secretly fighting each other. The people in the capital were all secretly scheming. Sometimes they didn't even know who did it, so it was very troublesome to watch. Unlike now, when everyone knew that she and Du Guxiu were like fire and water. But Du Guxiu couldn't do anything to her. You want to watch a show? Shisheng sat up and looked at Dugu Yi. Dugu Yi nodded like a chick pecking at rice. Shisheng stood up and said casually, let's go. Where to? To watch a show. Dugu Yi didn't know what Shisheng meant by watching a show, but when he saw that she was about to go out, Dugu Yi flinched. After hesitating for a while, he quickly ran back to dress up, and then chased after Shisheng. When he reached the gate, Shisheng had violently broken through Du Guxiu's encirclement, and was walking towards the street. Dugu Yi lowered his head and hurried to catch up. Where are we going to watch a show? What show are we going to watch? As soon as Dugu Yi came out, he looked around with shifty eyes, as if he was afraid that others didn't know that he was a ghost. Shisheng's lips curled up, and his light words fell into Dugu Yi's ears. Welcome the Princess Regent. Dugu Yi almost lost his balance. What did you say? Are you deaf? If you're sick, treat it. Cough cough. Dugu Yi choked on his saliva again, and patted his chest to calm himself down. No, the Princess Regent? The one from the general's residence? Shisheng rolled his eyes. Did Du Guxiu marry 2 women? Dugu Yi. Of course not. Dugu Yi didn't walk far before someone slipped a note to him. Dugu Yi secretly opened it, and looked at the girl in front of him with a strange expression. How did she know that the Princess Regent was coming? Before Shisheng reached the gate of the county yamen, he saw a group of people surrounding a place. When Shisheng walked over, the people all made way for him. B***ts. As soon as Shisheng walked in, he heard such a coquettish voice, followed by a crisp slap. In front of the luxurious carriage, a well-dressed woman with a slightly bulging belly was glaring angrily in a direction with her willowy eyebrows raised. And the person standing opposite her was Su'er. Du Guxiu didn't see her. Su'er was inexplicably slapped, and her anger rose. I just accidentally bumped into your maidservant. I've already apologized. What right do you have to hit me? What right do I have? The woman slapped her again. But this time, the woman didn't hit her. Su'er suddenly reached out and pushed her. The woman probably didn't expect Su'er to fight back. She staggered and fell back, and her waist hit the rut of the carriage behind her. The woman's face turned pale, and her body froze. Princess consort, princess consort. The maidservants finally reacted. They surrounded the woman and shouted at the top of their lungs. Guards, guards, where's the imperial doctor? Call the imperial doctor. Delicate. Su'er snorted, but when she saw red liquid start to seep out of the woman's skirt, she panicked. She wanted to go forward, but she was blocked by those people and couldn't get close. The woman was helped into the carriage, and Su'er was directly taken away by the guards. If anything happens to the princess consort, you'll get it, the maidservant said fiercely to Su'er. Shisheng held his face and laughed. The woman was at least 4 months pregnant. Anyone with eyes could see that, but Su'er didn't. How interesting. Ruan Xiaoyang, don't laugh. It's scary. Dugu Yi rubbed his arms. Chapter 723. The child in the woman's belly was lost. Du Guxiu arrived late. After listening to the servant's report, he only glanced at Su'er and got into the carriage. Su'er opened her mouth and called Du Guxiu's name silently. He quickly carried the woman down. The woman grabbed Du Guxiu's clothes with a pale face. Your Highness, my child. There will be. Du Guxiu's tone was not gentle, but it was not cold as he comforted her. It's all Chinchia's fault. The woman sobbed. She was heartbroken and heartbroken. Duguxiu did not say anything. He carried the woman and walked in the direction of the county government. Shisheng did not understand. Wasn't it better to take a carriage? Why did they have to walk? Su'er was forced to follow behind. The onlookers followed them all the way to the entrance of the county government and whispered about what happened just now. Did those people call the princess consort just now? Is the regent married? Baihe County was remote and winter had just passed. There was still a lot of news that had not been sent back. They called the princess consort and the regent came to pick her up personally. It must be true. Then what is Su'er? She's a vixen who seduced the prince. Now that the princess consort is here, she even made the princess consort lose her child. This is terrible. Shisheng crossed his arms and slowly left the crowd. Wan Xiaoyang. Dugui called her name and caught up with her. How did you know that the princess consort is here? I heard it from someone. Shisheng answered honestly. Who did you hear it from? Dugui was curious. He had just received the news. How did she know before him? I don't know. She really did not know. When she came out, she heard a caravan say that they met a group of people who were escorted by the imperial court and a young and beautiful woman. She followed the route the caravan said, and went to take a look. Didn't she know? Duguxiu's official princess consort was here. Wouldn't Su'er be tortured badly? Su'er had been locked in the cell for a few days. She did not see anyone other than the people who brought her food every day. That day, when the sun had just risen, she was taken out and beaten 20 times without a word. 20 paddles were definitely fatal for a girl. Su'er, who was on the verge of death, was carried back to her room. Su'er fainted from the pain, and when she woke up, her butt was burning with pain. Her tears started to fall uncontrollably. Don't cry. A voice suddenly sounded from the side. A pair of hands cupped her face. I'm sorry, Akel. I've made you suffer. Duguxiu. Su'er's voice was hoarse. That child. Was it really gone? I didn't know she was pregnant. I didn't push her on purpose. She hit me first, Su'er said incoherently. I know. Duguxiu wiped her tears. It's not your fault. Duguxiu leaned over and kissed Su'er. Su'er was kissed so hard that she forgot to cry. The pain in her body seemed to have disappeared, and she let out a soft whimper. When Duguxiu let go of her, Su'er grabbed his hand and asked, You're married? Duguxiu was silent for a moment. He nodded but quickly explained, I don't like her. Akel, don't worry. After a while I'll divorce her. Duguxiu said a lot of good things and told Su'er about her situation. Although Su'er found it hard to accept, she didn't harp on it. Duguxiu came to see Su'er every day and personally applied medicine for her. When he was applying the medicine, Duguxiu couldn't help but take advantage of her. Su'er couldn't move and could only lie down and let Duguxiu take advantage of her. Duguxiu, can you apply the medicine properly? Su'er lay on her stomach, her face red. Duguxiu's fingers stopped at Su'er's private area. He leaned over and blew into her ear. Akel, don't you like it? Su'er's face turned even redder. She pulled the quilt and wrapped it around herself. I'm fine now. I don't need you to apply medicine for me. You're fine? Duguxiu raised his eyebrows at Su'er. I'm fine, I'm fine. Su'er quickly shook her head. Since you're fine. Duguxiu dragged out his words and got on the bed. As Su'er screamed, he took off her clothes. Outside the door, the pale-faced woman quietly listened to the sounds coming from the room. Your Highness, your health is more important. The maid supporting her reminded her in a low voice. A cold smile appeared on the woman's face as she walked away. Su'er wasn't in the shop. Shisheng led the servants of the Ruan residence to chase those people out. Those who didn't leave were beaten up. She didn't want to do business, so she smashed the shops into pieces. The news of Shisheng smashing the shops quickly spread to Su'er and Duguxiu. Duguxiu was pestered by the princess and couldn't leave, so Su'er had to go by herself. When Su'er arrived, Shisheng was smashing the last shop. Wan Xiaoyang, what are you doing? Stop it. Su'er squeezed through the crowd and saw that the shop was completely destroyed. She shouted at Shisheng. Wan Xiaoyang, what right do you have to smash my shop? Yours? Shisheng looked at Su'er in amusement. Do you have the deed? Duguxiu gave it to you. Do you really think it's yours? Shisheng waved the deed in his hand. It's written in black and white that these shops belong to the Ruan family. I'm smashing my own things. It's none of your business. These shops have been closed down and confiscated. They don't belong to you anymore, Su'er said loudly. Shisheng snorted and looked at Su'er with calm eyes. Who does Duguxiu think he is? How dare he confiscate my things? Ruan Xiaoyang, don't be so lawless. Shisheng smiled. Hit me. As a scumbag, I feel like I've leveled up again. Sigh, I can't help being beautiful. I don't understand why the host is so proud. What's so good about being a scumbag? You. Su'er pointed at Shisheng, her face livid with anger. She looked at the smashed shop behind her, then looked at the arrogant Shisheng. Su'er just wanted to strangle this woman. What right did she have to trample on the fruits of her labor? Su'er forced herself not to cry. Ruan Xiaoyang, you and I can't exist under the same sky. Welcome to my enemy army. Shisheng spread his hands. But you have to line up. There are too many people who want to kill me. Su'er. Shisheng waved his hand and led the people who smashed the shop away. The onlookers made way for them as if they were avoiding a virus. Su'er glared at Shisheng's back and gritted her teeth. Ruan Xiaoyang. Su'er went back in a daze. As soon as she entered the county yamen, she was called over by the princess consort servant. The princess consort sat on the main seat and drank her tea elegantly. Su'er stood in the middle, and the princess consort didn't speak. After a while, the princess consort slowly said, If you want to serve the prince, you have to learn the rules. You can't be like a country girl and embarrass the prince. Asterisk request votes. Hurry up. Hurry up. Chapter 724. The incident of Shisheng smashing the shop made the people of Baihe County realize once again that the young lady from the Ruan family was not to be trifled with. If you wanted the shop, she would give it to you without any objections. When you reopened the shop, they wouldn't say a word and would bring their men to smash the shop. They could not afford to offend such a fierce person. Shisheng felt great smashing the shop, and Qiushui's heart ached. Young miss, that's our shop. You smashed it just because you said so. Did you consider the feelings of the deceased master? Shisheng was silent. Qiushui was going to start nagging again. Why did she always meet people like this? Qiushui, I'm a little hungry. Go and get me something to eat. Qiushui found it strange. Didn't you just eat? I've consumed a lot of food recently. Wasn't it to get rid of you? Qiushui bowed. Young miss, please wait for a moment. Qiushui left the room. Dugui looked inside sneakily at the door. Seeing that there was no one, he slipped in. Ruan Xiaoyang, Ruan Xiaoyang. Shisheng looked at him. Dugui chuckled. Let me tell you a piece of good news. Your good news is not necessarily good news to me. Shisheng said it in a roundabout way. Dugui winked at Shisheng. It's really good news. Do you want to know? Ask me quickly. I'll tell you if you ask me. Shisheng was unmoved. Dugui could not hold it in anymore. The emperor has sent a patrol. How is this good news? The emperor was a weakling. What was the use of sending a patrol? Dugui looked at Shisheng with a you don't understand this look. He shook his head and said, Let me tell you, do you know who the patrol is this time? In just a few short months, the emperor made an exception and promoted He Qing to prime minister. This man TSK, he is really capable. Now the emperor listens to almost everything he says. Moreover, I heard that he is from Baihe County. Shisheng. That idiot He Qing came back to die. She knew that even if she didn't go looking for him, he would come looking for her. Dugui told the Shisheng everything that He Qing did in the capital. Dugui and Duguxiu had a battle of wits and bravery in the imperial court. They were all fighting for military power. They could all be written into a political novel of 1,000,000 words. The source of Duguyi's information was a mystery. Shisheng had never seen him contact anyone. For such a prince to be able to survive until the end, he must have some influence in private. This seemed to make sense. He pretended to be afraid of Duguxiu, but Shisheng didn't see any fear in his eyes. He even dared to look at Duguxiu. Shisheng didn't completely believe Duguyi's news, so he left the Ruan mansion alone in the evening. Stepping on his iron sword, he flew out of White River County. She had just left White River County when she saw the flickering torches on the small path below her. A few silhouettes were rapidly moving towards White River County. Shisheng stopped above for a few seconds, and the people below stopped moving. They seemed to be looking up at her. Shisheng let the iron sword land in front of them. The leader was Hiqing. Hiqing still looked very frail. His body was so thin that it seemed like the wind could blow him away. Aya. Hiqing was a little annoyed. I've already told you so much in advance. How did you know? Shisheng narrowed his eyes. Who exactly are you? Me. He maintained a smile on his face, but with his expression and the flickering torches, it felt a little strange. My name is Mubai. Love. White. Never heard of you. Mubai. He used his real name in the stud dimension. Mubai's mouth stiffened. He was so angry that she didn't know him. But he was a gentleman and couldn't get angry. So Mubai maintained his smile. It's okay. You've heard of me now. Your motive. Don't you know my motive? Mubai's smile was appropriate, as if he was facing a partner who was about to work with him. Shisheng raised his eyebrows slightly. Kill me? Mubai smiled and didn't answer. Do you have a grudge against me or against the person who created this system? Mubai raised a finger. You can only answer one question at a time. He took a few steps back. Our contest has just begun. Shisheng, I know you're a very careful person. But a horse can make mistakes. We have a long way to go. He suddenly pulled out the sword of a person behind him. Without even blinking, he slit his throat. Although he didn't want to die, everything he did before was in vain. He shouldn't have come. But if he didn't die and fell into her hands, he wouldn't have a good ending. It was better to die. Mubai's lips curled into a strange smile. The light in his eyes slowly disappeared. His body slowly fell into the bushes at the side. Shisheng. You're so decisive that I don't want to make things difficult for you anymore. After Mubai fell, the rest of the people bit their tongues and committed suicide. Very good, Mubai, right? You've attracted my attention. Shisheng leisurely walked back to White River County. The news of the patrol officer's tragic death quickly spread to White River County. The strange thing was that the patrol officer committed suicide. Such a strange death made the people of White River County puzzled. He was about to reach White River County. Why did he commit suicide? Obviously, the happiest person was Duguxiu. This person who appeared out of nowhere was very difficult to deal with. No matter how he died, he was now dead. Duguxiu didn't even have time to care about Shisheng. He hurried back to the capital with his two women. Shisheng stood on the highest tower of White River County and watched Duguxiu's team leave. Duguyi, do you want to be the emperor? No. Duguyi was eating and drinking beside him. A prince who doesn't want to be the emperor is not a good prince. Shisheng turned around. You want me to be the emperor? Duguyi took a bite of pork shoulder. His mouth was full of oil. He chewed twice and quickly complained. Ruan Xiaoyang, there's a limit to your bragging, okay? I know you're very powerful, but this is only White River County. What kind of place is the capital? There are many people more powerful than you. Shisheng silently looked away. This retard was not cut out to be the emperor. Who else in the capital wants to rebel? Shisheng sat opposite Duguyi. Duguyi thought for a while and didn't answer her question. You really want to rebel? Shisheng said with a serious face. Do I look like I'm joking with you? Duguyi carefully looked at Shisheng for a few seconds and nodded firmly. Yes. Shisheng took the wine glass on the table and threw it over. Duguyi tilted his head to avoid it and shouted unhappily, Don't hit me. She hit him without saying anything. She didn't act like a girl at all. Shisheng went to take another wine glass. Duguyi quickly stopped him. Marquis Yongla has always wanted to rebel, but he has too little military power. He can't make any waves. Marquis Yongla was the eldest princess's husband. He was one generation older than Duguyi and the same generation as Duguxiu. Ding. Your Christmas activities have been sent. Please check. In the book review section. Book review section. Book review section. Important things must be said 3 times. Last thing I want to inform everyone. Tomorrow's update time will be delayed to the evening. Last daily update hashtag today's bean sprouts flavored votes hashtag votes please, more votes will give you a surprise. Chapter 725. The first thing Du Guxiu did when he returned to the capital was to get rid of Mu Bai. Without Mu Bai, the emperor was no match for Du Guxiu. Soon, the emperor was put under house arrest by Du Guxiu. Du Guxiu probably didn't want to be labeled as a rebel, so he didn't rebel directly. Su'er was brought to the regent's residence, and the consort tortured Su'er. In the original plot, without Mu Bai's secret intervention, Du Guxiu didn't need to marry the consort to gain the support of the northern general. Naturally, there was no scene between Su'er and the consort. Su'er wanted to return to Baihe County, but Du Guxiu would affectionately urge her to stay. Su'er was sold by the Su family twice, but she was still able to return. It was clear that she was a soft-hearted person. Du Guxiu told her about his difficulties, and Su'er quickly fell for him. The halo of the female lead was still there. Even if the consort wanted to kill Su'er several times, she didn't succeed. Because of this, Su'er learned a new skill in the shortest time, fighting in the house. In the end, Du Guxiu gained the support of the northern general, and became the most powerful person in the world. He secretly killed the emperor and left behind a fake edict, passing it to Du Guxiu. Although many people knew the inside story, no one dared to show their dissatisfaction. If they did, they would be beheaded. Du Guxiu successfully ascended the throne. There was a problem with the empress title. As the daughter of the great general of the north and the legal wife of the king, she should be conferred the title of empress. But Du Guxiu wanted to make Su'er empress. However, many officials objected, especially the northern general. Under pressure, Du Guxiu could only make the consort empress, and Su'er was only given the title of consort. Su'er felt that she was wrong to follow Du Guxiu back. Sister, don't be sad. The young girl patted Su'er's back. His Majesty only has you in his heart. Even if she is the empress, she can't compete with you. Su'er forced a smile and held her sister's hand. I'm fine. Little sister Su and Su'er looked quite similar. Little sister Su was about 14 years old, and there was still a bit of childishness between her eyebrows, but when she smiled, she was especially sweet and cute. Sister, His Majesty just sent someone to say that he will stay in your palace tonight. The smile on Su'er's face brightened. Du Guxiu was escorted in by a crowd of people. Su'er had already taken a bath and put on new makeup, looking radiant. Du Guxiu ignored everyone else and picked Su'er up and walked towards the bed. The people behind him tactfully retreated. The two of them made love on the bed. Su'er lay on Du Guxiu's chest and said, I want to go back to White River County. Du Guxiu frowned. Go back for what? There was a woman he hated in that place. Once he settled down here, he would definitely send troops to deal with that woman. There are some things I need to take back. Is there anything here? What do you want? Let the people below buy it. Du Guxiu's hand started to wander around Su'er's body. Don't go back to White River County. I'm worried. Su'er was not satisfied. She pushed Du Guxiu away and lay down with her back facing him. All right. I'll let you go back. Du Guxiu pulled Su'er back. But you have to make me happy. Su'er pinched Du Guxiu and sat on him. Su'er returned to White River County. It had been more than a year since they left. White River County had changed a lot. When she entered, the first thing she saw was the Ruan family's signboard. The whole street was filled with the Ruan family's signboard. Su'er sent someone to ask around, and found out that the Ruan family was really rich now. 80% of the shops in White River County belonged to the Ruan family. Not to mention the land nearby, many of them were bought by the Ruan family. Shisheng was now someone that many people in White River County wanted to marry. Everyone came in waves, but the Shisheng had no intention of recruiting a son-in-law. Chapter 726. Suyu's carriage entered Baihe County. The person who came to welcome her was the newly appointed county magistrate. Suyu lived in the county office. Her extravagance made people envious. No one would have thought that Su-er would actually become a high and mighty concubine. As for the girls who had failed to be chosen, they were pounding their chests and stamping their feet in regret. If they had entered the palace, they might have been the ones returning in glory. There were many people who were jealous of Suyu. Suyu was proud of this. Didn't these people look down on her? Now they still had to bow to her and kneel at her feet. Suyu wanted to go back to Baiha village. The county magistrate immediately made arrangements for her. Baiha village didn't change much since she left. Who planted these fields? Suyu pointed at the good-looking paddy field and asked the county magistrate who was following outside. The county magistrate lowered his head and answered carefully, "Your Highness, these were planted by the Ruan family." Suyu frowned. It was Ruan Xiaoyang again. Did the villagers of Baiha village rent the land and plant them? Your Highness, no. The Ruan family hired people to plant them. The county magistrate had heard about the grudge between Suyu and Ruan Xiaoyang, so he was very nervous. What was this Highness trying to do? When Suyu arrived at Baiha village, the villagers didn't like her. Due to the difference in status, they could only bury this dislike in their hearts. However, Suyu was a very sensitive person. She could feel that they didn't like her. Suyu was confused. When she left, she found them the Li family's fields and the rent was lower than the Ruan family's. Why didn't they like her? Suyu sent someone to ask and found out that not long after she left, the Li family raised the rent. The rent was 10% higher than the Ruan family's. These tenants had signed contracts for a few years, so they suffered. Call Li Longsheng to see me. Suyu ordered the county magistrate. Yes. The county magistrate hurried over. When he went out, he saw a horse carriage coming from another direction. Seeing the horse carriage, the county magistrate's mouth twitched. She was going to cause trouble today. Why was this person who didn't go out all year round here at this time? The county magistrate asked someone to stop the Shisheng's horse carriage. Qiu Shui lifted the curtain and saw the county magistrate. She got off the carriage and bowed respectfully. Sir, what's the matter? Where is your lady going? The magistrate looked at the carriage. Recently, the weather has been very hot. Miss wants to stay in the countryside for a while to avoid the heat. The county magistrate thought quickly. If the Ruan family's farm passed by Baiha village, they would definitely bump into Suyu's group. Ahem. Do you think it's okay to let your young miss go in 2 days? The county magistrate had also been taught a lesson by the Shisheng, so he was a little afraid of the Shisheng. Therefore, he spoke in a negotiating manner. Why? Autumn Water didn't understand. It wasn't easy for her young miss to come out. If she went back, she probably wouldn't be willing to come out again. The magistrate was speechless. Could he say that Su-er was in front? Shisheng, who was waiting impatiently in the carriage, opened the door and said, "What are you waiting for? It's already dark." Miss Ruan. The county magistrate hurried forward. "Oh, Mr. Zhou." Shisheng greeted him indifferently. "Why is the road ahead blocked? Can't I pass?" No. The county magistrate was sweating profusely. Shisheng obviously knew that Su-er was back. This female lead didn't get the title of empress. Instead, she got the title of concubine. How dare she come back to show off? Move aside. Miss Ruan, Shisheng glared at him. The county magistrate immediately cowered and asked people to move aside. The carriage slowly drove past him. Shisheng didn't want to see the retarded female lead, so he asked people to take another road to the farm. "Miss, are you tired? Do you want to rest first?" Autumn Water asked Shisheng as she moved things into the house. Shisheng leaned against the carriage and shook his head. Autumn Water didn't ask any more questions and ordered people to arrange things. After she finished, she realized that Su-er was gone. The group of people looked around the farm but couldn't find her. Autumn Water knew that Shisheng would go to the mountain behind the farm whenever he came to the farm. Sometimes he would stay for a day, and sometimes he would stay for a few hours. Therefore, after she couldn't find her in the farm, she sent people to the mountain. After confirming that Shisheng was on the mountain, Autumn Water was no longer worried. The spiritual energy on the mountain was more abundant, so Shisheng was more comfortable here. She stayed until noon the next day. In the end, when she went back, she found that there were many strangers in her farm. Shisheng. What was going on? Miss. Autumn Water ran out from the corner with an ugly expression. She complained angrily. Su'er brought people and insisted on staying in our farm. My female lead is amazing. Why don't you go to heaven? Yesterday, not long after Shisheng left, Su'er brought people and insisted on staying here. Autumn Water and the others couldn't do anything about it even if they didn't agree. Su'er brought imperial guards with her, and each of them was highly skilled in martial arts. Even the servants in the farm were beaten down in a few moves. She even chased them out. Where is she? Inside. Autumn Water pointed at the farm. Shisheng walked towards the farm. Autumn Water followed Shisheng confidently. She was no longer the Autumn Water of the past. Her miss even dared to go against the Prince Regent. Why would she be afraid of Su'er? Stop. The Imperial Guards outside the farm stopped Shisheng. This place is being used by concubine Lan. Unrelated people can't wait. Before the Imperial Guard could finish his words, he was kicked away. The Imperial Guards beside him immediately surrounded Shisheng. Shisheng quickly got rid of these small fries. Su'er heard the commotion and came out. Su'er hated Shisheng to the core. She immediately scolded. Ruan Xiaoyang, do you want to die? Shisheng kicked the last Imperial Guard away. He turned his head and said with a smile, Yes, I want to die. Su'er looked at the Imperial Guards lying on the ground with disdain. Why were these people so useless? Duguxiu said that they were the best. They couldn't even defeat a woman. How could they be the best? Su'er thought that she was the emperor's concubine now. No matter how bold Su'er was, she wouldn't dare to do anything to her. However, she forgot that Shisheng was someone who dared to go against the Prince Regent. How could he not dare to do anything to her just because she was the emperor's concubine? Therefore, Shisheng threw all of Su'er's people out of the farm. Su'er and the others didn't even have a chance to resist. Ruan Xiaoyang, do you still have any respect for the law? Su'er's gorgeous palace dress was a little dirty. Her hair was messy and she looked like a shrew. It's not the first day that I don't have any respect for the law. Shisheng stood at the entrance of the farm. He looked at Su'er with a faint smile and said in a deep voice, Su'er, if you dare to provoke me again, I'll kill you. It's not the first day that I don't have any respect for the law. His words were as arrogant as they could be. Su'er felt a chill down her spine. She staggered back a few steps. She didn't know if she lost her footing or if she was too scared. Su'er suddenly fell. Her head hit the gravel on the ground and blood immediately flowed down. Your Highness. There was a blackout when I was writing this chapter. Damn it, I used my phone to type this. There's no keyboard. There's only one word that can express my feelings, so cold. Okay, next is the explosive chapter that you've all been waiting for. Are you ready to fight for the position of the sofa? Countdown. Those who didn't vote today, hurry up and vote. Chapter 727. The news of Su'er being thrown out of the manor by Shisheng somehow spread to Baihe County. When Su'er returned, the people of Baihe County pointed at her and gossiped. Su'er's temperament had changed a long time ago. After being provoked by Shisheng today, she flew into a rage out of humiliation. She even ordered people to beat a few people up. Most people's temperament changed according to their circumstances. Su'er's change was normal. She wasn't Duguxiu's only woman. Sharing a husband with another woman had already made her feel uncomfortable. She was already higher than Shisheng, but in the end, she was still taught a lesson by Shisheng. How could she accept it? But she could not do anything to Shisheng. Your Highness, someone wants to see you. I don't want to see them, Su'er said irritably. The person standing at the door hesitated for a moment, then whispered, They say they are your biological parents. I don't want to see them. She had already cut off all ties with them long ago. They were not biological parents. The news of Su'er ignoring her biological parents quickly spread in Baihe County. Su'er was so angry that she smashed her cup. In the end, Su'er could not stand her parents pestering and returned to the capital. She wanted to return home in glory. But who knew that things would turn out like this? However, Su'er did not know that the reality she faced when she returned was even crueler. While she was away, her sister's status had been sealed, and she was even pregnant. "I'm sorry, sister." Su'er knelt on the ground, her childish face full of guilt. "His Majesty, he mistook me for you. I couldn't break free." "I'm sorry, sister." Su'er sneered at Su'er. She saved her from her parents, but this was how she repaid her? "Get out, get out." Su'er lost control. Su'er looked at Su'er with tears in her eyes. She looked pitiful. "Sister." When Su'er saw her like this, she thought of how she was under Duguxiu. She grabbed something next to her and threw it at Su'er. In the end, Su'er's maid forcefully pulled her away. Su'er knelt outside Su'er's palace. No one could persuade her to leave. Only when Duguxiu came did she send her back to the palace. Su'er knelt for so long that she almost lost her child. Duguxiu's face darkened as he went to see Su'er. "Su'er, how did you become like this?" "She's a younger sister with a child in her belly." Su'er's face was dark as water. "She stole my brother's man, and she wants me to congratulate her with a smile?" "Duguxiu, what did you promise me before?" "He said that when he ascended the throne, she would be his only woman. But looking at it now, there were people constantly trying to stuff people into his harem. Every time he would use the excuse that his foundation wasn't stable, and that he couldn't reject these ministers as an excuse to keep those women and pamper them." "But she's your sister." "I only thought of her as you." Duguxiu's expression was complicated. "Heh." Su'er laughed coldly. This smile probably angered Duguxiu. He stepped forward and pinched Su'er's chin, forcing her to look up. "You're the only one in my heart. What else do you want? I am the emperor, and I have no choice. Can't you understand me?" Su'er pushed Duguxiu away, her eyes full of disdain. "Don't touch me." Duguxiu's hand missed. He stared at his hand for a few seconds, his eyes burning with rage. "Su'er." Su'er glared back coldly. Duguxiu laughed coldly. He grabbed her and threw her onto the bed. He flipped over and ignored Su'er's screams and resistance. He had sex with her several times. Only when Su'er fainted did Duguxiu let her go. After that, Su'er became more and more resistant to Duguxiu. She made a fuss about leaving the palace. But it was easy to enter the palace, but difficult to leave. How could Duguxiu let her go? Su'er would occasionally show her presence in front of Su'er, intentionally or unintentionally revealing how she took care of Su'er when she was with Duguxiu. When Su'er was about to give birth, Su'er and Su'er quarreled. Su'er pushed Su'er, and Su'er's child was born prematurely. It was a stillborn. Duguxiu was really angry this time and punished Su'er severely. Su'er was in dire straits, and there were many people who wanted to beat her up. The Empress had someone disfigure Su'er's face. The Empress had the northern general as her backer. Even if Duguxiu knew who did it, he could only pretend not to know. Su'er, who was disfigured and had a bad temper, saw Duguxiu as an enemy. Duguxiu was the emperor, and tolerating it for a while was already the limit. After Su'er went crazy and caused another woman in his harem to miscarry, he had someone send Su'er back to White River County. When Su'er returned to White River County, she was no longer as glamorous as before. There was only an old nanny serving her. Although Duguxiu gave her enough money, the old nanny found that Su'er was a little delirious, so she sent her to White River County and ran away with the money. "Miss, look at that person downstairs. Why does she look like Su'er?" Qiu Shui pulled Shisheng's arm and pointed at a woman who was surrounded by people downstairs. Shisheng was leaning against the window. Wasn't that the female lead? She was disfigured. The palace was indeed a scary place. Su'er was dressed well, but half of her face was disfigured, and she looked a little hideous. Someone recognized her. The news of Su'er's return spread like wildfire, and more people gathered around. Qiu Shui asked curiously, "Miss, how did Su'er become like this?" The last time she came back, she was still glamorous. It had only been a few months. How did she become like this? Who knows? Shisheng turned around and went back inside. At this moment, someone knocked on the door. Qiu Shui immediately went to open the door and bowed slightly. Marquis. A man around 30 years old stood outside the door. He was dressed in brocade and had a smile on his face. He nodded politely. Miss Qiushui. Qiushui turned sideways. Miss is waiting for you inside. The man signaled to the people behind him and entered the room alone. Qiushui left and closed the door. Qiushui looked up and saw a man winking at her. Qiushui. The man walked in front of Qiushui. Why did your miss call our marquis here? Is it? I don't know. Even if she knew, she wouldn't say anything. We're in the same boat now. Qiushui, you don't have to be so guarded against me, right? The man was a little sad. Qiushui rolled her eyes at the man. Who's in the same boat as you? Her miss doesn't want to be in the same boat as you. Qiushui, who worshipped him blindly, turned her head and ignored the man. The man who failed to gather information returned to his team angrily. After standing for a while, he couldn't stand it anymore and went to talk to Qiushui. Qiushui was very annoyed with him, but he didn't know and kept talking. When the door opened, Qiushui walked into the room without a word. Chapter 728. Miss Ruan, are you sure you won't consider my suggestion? Marquis Changle asked reluctantly as he walked out. Master Marquis, don't lose more than you gain. Shisheng glanced at him. Marquis Changle chuckled. I know what to do. Since Miss Ruan isn't willing, then pretend I didn't mention it. We're still friends. Marquis Changle cupped his hands at Shisheng. Miss Ruan, see you in the capital. Goodbye. Smart people knew who they could offend and who they couldn't. Marquis Changle left with his men. The man who was talking to Qiushui turned around and winked at her. Qiushui pretended not to see it. Miss, what did Marquis Changle say to you? What did he mean by that last sentence? He wants me to marry him. Marquis Changle is a little old. Qiushui immediately said. Shisheng. Why did you grasp the main point so strangely? Was it because he was old? She had never thought about getting married. Fengxi wasn't even here. How could she marry a ghost? When Shisheng went downstairs, he saw people taking Su'er away. They're from the Li family. Qiushui ran over to take a look and came back to report. Shisheng watched as Suhua was dragged away. A fake smile tugged at the corner of her lips. A few days later, he heard Qiushui gossip about Su'er. Su'er was abused by Li Honghong, and her days were miserable. Shisheng was preparing to go to the capital, so he didn't have time to gossip. She didn't bring anyone, and went to the capital alone. As soon as she entered the capital, she met Dugu Yi, who was holding a flower girl. Dugu Yi ignored Shisheng and talked to the girl as he walked past her. Until night time, Dugu Yi climbed through her window. Wan Xiaoyang. Open the window. Dugu Yi knocked on the window, not daring to make too much noise. Shisheng opened the window. Climbing through a girl's window in the middle of the night. Lord Ping Nan is in a good mood. Dugu Yi had an automatic filter function. Wan Xiaoyang, what are you doing in the capital? None of your business. I'm curious. Dugu Yi directly climbed into the room. I heard that Marquis Changle has made a move. Are you all planning to rebel? Shisheng raised his eyebrows. Why? Are you regretting it? What's there to regret? I really don't have any thoughts about that position. Dugu Yi sighed. But I'm in the royal family. Why are you looking for me? Speak. Dugu Yi looked around and lowered his voice. I'll help you. After this is done, help me talk to Marquis Changle and ask him to let me leave the capital. I want to be a wanderer who roams the world. Isn't it easy for you to leave? This man was very capable. Previously, he had stayed in White River County for such a long time. Yet Dugu Xiu's men did not discover him. Dugu Yi's face darkened. You don't understand the feeling of someone plotting against you all day long. Shisheng was speechless. He knew very well that there were too many idiots who wanted to plot against him. Dugu Yi had the city defense map in his hands, as well as some information that outsiders did not know. With Dugu Yi's help, Shisheng originally planned to rebel violently. But now there was no need for that. Shisheng did not even need to show his face. Marquis Changle's men had settled everything. Marquis Changle was not Dugu Xiu. He did not care about his reputation. As long as he ascended the throne, everything was fine. When the palace was breached, Duguxiu led his men to escape. It was a well-planned escape route that few people knew. However, when they reached the exit, they found someone waiting there. The torches gradually lit up, illuminating the entire place. Duguxiu saw the person standing in front of him clearly. A young girl's light voice echoed in the night. Duguxiu, long time no see. Duguxiu's mind was not filled with the glory and wealth that he was about to lose. Instead, it was filled with the words of the young girl in front of him. I want this world to have whatever surname it has. Marquis Changle had been secretly setting this up for more than a year without him noticing. By the time he realized it, it was already too late. Duguxiu looked at the young girl in front of him. She had not changed much in the past few years. She was still so calm and rational. Her eyes never wavered. As for them, they had already changed. Marquis Changle ascended the throne and changed the name to Changle. Duguxiu was imprisoned in the imperial mausoleum for his entire life to guard it. Dugu faked his death and changed his name to leave the capital to travel the world. Marquis Changle did not care about trifles, but he was indeed a good emperor. White River County became independent and was no longer under anyone's jurisdiction. Shi Sheng was the real king of the land and became the biggest landlord in White River County. He took over all the women in White River County. There were never any bandits in the vicinity of White River County. All the tenants lived much better lives compared to other places. Many people were envious and wanted to move to White River County. The only thing that puzzled the residents of White River County was that this landlord's daughter did not take in any son-in-law until her death. She did not have any men by her side. Shi Sheng died of old age and returned to the system space. Just as Shi Sheng stood up, the system's voice sounded. Host, how did the male and female lead offend you? Why did you have to kill them? I can't stand them. Shi Sheng walked in front of the screen. Do you need a reason to not stand someone? That's reasonable. When you don't like someone, no matter what they do, you will find them unpleasant and your imagination will be filled with all kinds of unreliable things. No, why did it lead the host astray? You can't possibly dislike every male and female lead in every world, right? I'm a stepmother author. It's normal that I don't like the male and female lead. Shi Sheng rolled his eyes. Capricious host. Shi Sheng lowered his head and looked at the patch he made. There was a loophole. This Mubai was amazing. Shi Sheng told the system not to mess with her. She stayed in the system space for a long time this time. He waited for her to patch before allowing the system to show her information. Name, Shi Sheng Prestige. 258000 Health. 45 Contribution. 43,000 Mission Grade. Emission Score. 89 Side Mission. Failed Side Mission Reward. None Item List. Queen's Crown. Ghost King's Heart. Dark Knight. Shi Sheng silently looked at the prestige. Shi Sheng sighed and asked, do you have Mubai's information in the database? The system is not some random website that you can check just because you want to. Searching. The system uncontrollably began to search the database. I'm so angry. Master. I've been poisoned. No matching data found. Do you want to change the keywords? Who is Mubai? Master. What are you doing outside? Why did you let such a strange thing in? Shi Sheng looked at the system screen like an idiot. Next world. Initializing transmission. Asterisk, the 22nd world ended. Mubai, I'm going to kneel again? Shi Sheng, don't worry. There are many chances for you to kneel. Mubai. Little fairy. I don't know anything. Chapter 729. Everyone knew that Xine had Shuju, who was willing to die for her. Asterisk, drip. Drip. Shi Sheng could only hear this voice in her ears. It sounded a bit empty. Her body was cold and her limbs were numb. She opened her eyes with some difficulty. What entered her sight was an old, dim yellow ceiling with some cracks. The pale white light pierced her eyes, causing her to see double and her head to feel dizzy. Drip. 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 Shi Sheng turned her head slightly. The water covered her side of her face. She immediately turned her head back to avoid the tragedy of being drowned. She was lying in a bathtub. The water covered her whole body. One of her hands was outside the bathtub. The drip came from her side. His wrist was a little numb, and it hurt a little. Shisheng tried to raise her hand. A hideous wound appeared on her wrist, dripping with blood. The floor outside the bathtub was covered in blood. Shisheng. She cut her wrist to commit suicide. Shisheng felt that her life was slipping away. She turned around and found her phone on the sink. Shisheng held her bleeding wrist and wrapped it with a towel to stop the bleeding. She got up from the bathtub and pushed herself out of the bathtub. She struggled to move to the sink. Shisheng pressed on the phone for a long time, but there was no response. Shisheng. No battery? Is it broken? Shisheng breathed heavily. Holding the phone, she staggered out of the bathroom. The room outside was not big. It was about 10 square meters. She could see the whole room at a glance. It should be a single apartment. Shisheng walked to the table. It was a mess. There were computers, snacks, books, and papers. Shisheng searched for a long time, but could not find the charger. Her body collapsed as she sat down on the chair. Her breathing was unstable as she gasped for air. Shisheng could not find the charger. She could only stop the bleeding. When she was looking for something to tie the wound, she found the charger under a pile of clothes that had not been washed for a long time. Shisheng bandaged the wound and plugged the phone into the charger. After charging it for a few minutes, Shisheng turned it on. Before he could open the phone interface, his phone started ringing nonstop. His phone was jammed and there was no response for a long time. In the end, his phone was turned off. Shisheng. Awesome. This time, Shisheng pressed the power button for a long time, but there was no response. After a moment of silence, Shisheng threw his phone away and decided to rely on himself. The bleeding had stopped, but the body was not at its limit. It could hold on for a while. Shisheng rummaged in the space for a long time and stuffed everything she found back into the space. This body had never come into contact with spiritual energy before. If it ate those things, it would probably die even faster. Shisheng took a jacket and wrapped it around his upper body. He took out the original owner's wallet and walked out with it. There was a living room and 2 rooms outside. Shisheng glanced around and moved towards the door. Outside the door was an old corridor. The white dust on the walls had begun to peel off. The floor was wet and dirty. There were piles of junk in the corners. He could even see mice running in the dark. Shisheng. This supporting female lead was so miserable. There was no elevator in the old building. Shisheng could only take the stairs. When he went downstairs, he could see the outside. It was dark and he could barely see anything. When he went down to the ground floor, there was an iron door. Shisheng reached out and tried to open it, but it would not budge. It was locked. F***ck. One's teeth would get stuck even if they drank cold water. Where's Ice Sword? Shall we? Are you going out? Suddenly an old voice sounded. Shisheng was so scared that he almost took out his sword and slashed it. With a paw sound, the lights in the corridor lit up. In the dim light, Shisheng saw an old man wearing a jacket. He was looking at her kindly. You didn't bring your key? Give me a moment. I'll get it for you. You don't have to make a trip. The old man turned and went into the house. Soon he came out with a bunch of keys. The old man opened the door and said, You young people are so energetic. You're still going out at night. Unlike us, we're old. Shisheng did not reply. She did not know anything. The old man's eyes were not very good. It took him a while to open the door. Go ahead. Call me if you need to come back. I'll open the door for you. Thank you. Shisheng nodded slightly and walked out of the iron door. The old man's eyes narrowed into slits. Be careful. This was an old neighborhood. It was quite big. Shisheng walked and stopped for a while, looking for a place to rest. When she walked out of the neighborhood, she saw a 24-hour convenience store. Shisheng went over to call the owner. The owner seemed to know her. Shall we? What happened to you? You're so pale. The owner came out of the store and reached out to support her. Shisheng replied, I'm not feeling well. Hey, why are you not feeling well? Don't move. I'll take you to the hospital. The owner said and closed the door. Shisheng fell silent for a moment. The original owner is quite popular, ah. The owner took Shisheng to the hospital and took care of the hospitalization procedures. After Shisheng was sent to the ward, she had time to read the plot. This was a romance novel. The host was called Xian. She was an orphan. Her parents left her a house in the neighborhood where she came from. The people in the neighborhood pitied her and helped her from time to time. It could be said that she grew up with the help of hundreds of families. After Xian went to college, she reorganized the house and rented out 2 rooms to others. One of the tenants was the male protagonist Xie Yan. Xie Yan was an author. He wrote romance novels on a website. Now was the time when romance novels were popular. Xie Yan's novel became popular. After that, he became a god among romance novels. After living in Xian Yi's house, he liked Xian Yi and often took care of her. Their relationship was a bit ambiguous. People in the neighborhood joked about them from time to time. Xie Yan didn't refute. Xian Yi was shy and didn't want to confess. Xie Yan confessed to her first. They naturally got together. But all this began to change with the appearance of the male protagonist, Niecheng. Niecheng appeared in Xie Yan's world and moved next door to Xie Yan. Xian didn't find anything wrong at first. She only thought that he knew Xie Yan. Every time she went on a date with Xie Yan, Niecheng would appear intentionally or unintentionally. Niecheng appeared too many times. Xian was a bit dissatisfied. She complained to Xie Yan, who knew that Xie Yan would be evasive. Until Xian accidentally saw the 2 of them kissing. Xian wanted to break up with Xie Yan. But at that time, Xie Yan found out that Niecheng had an affair with his ex. He didn't want to be with Niecheng. He said that he was forced by Niecheng and didn't want to be with Niecheng. And Niecheng did move away at that time. Xian believed Xie Yan's words. Then her tragedies began to happen. There were always inexplicable men pestering her. She was also photographed and uploaded to the school forum. They said that she was a loose woman and had an ambiguous relationship with many men. Seeing that she was about to graduate, the school used this reason to dissuade her. The internship company she had just found also rejected her on the grounds that she was not suitable. Xian Yi's life was a mess. Xie Yan received a message from a mysterious man, saying that Xian had cheated on him. Chapter 730. When Shisheng returned to her room, she was disappointed to see the mess in the room. The original owner used to be a girl who liked to clean up, but after being harassed, she became absent-minded, so she didn't like to clean up. When she came over, the room looked like a garbage dump. Shisheng went to the bathroom. Because she was a girl, the bathroom was separated from the outside to her room, the one where Xie Yan and Niecheng shared the master bedroom. The blood on the floor of the bathroom had turned black and smelled bad. Shisheng couldn't stand it anymore, so she found someone to help her clean up. When she paid the bill, she found out that the original owner was very poor. She used all her money to pay for the medical and hospitalization fees, so she only had a few cents left in her card. The cleaning lady looked at Shisheng suspiciously. Shisheng was embarrassed. "Auntie, can you come downstairs with me to get the money?" The cleaning lady didn't say anything, but she must have despised Shisheng. How dare she ask someone to clean her room when she didn't have money? She could have just cleaned the room herself. However, Shisheng didn't have any skills other than keeping herself from starving to death. Shisheng borrowed money from the shop owner downstairs. The shop owner was worried about her health, so she gave Shisheng 1,000 yuan and told Shisheng to buy something to nourish her body. Shisheng held the 1,000 yuan and was touched. She was so poor that she needed to borrow money. Shisheng thanked the shop owner and went back. When she reached the door, she saw Niecheng opening the door. Niecheng was carrying a lot of bags. Shisheng saw the ointment in one of the bags. Niecheng didn't even look at her. He opened the door and went straight to Xie Yan's room. Bang! The old windows were shaking with the sound of the door being slammed. "My little attack is amazing. You dare to be so arrogant in front of your real girlfriend." Niecheng's family seemed to be very rich. If she kicked Xie Yan out, Niecheng would benefit from it. Besides, she didn't have to travel all the way to see them if Xie Yan stayed here. Shisheng walked slowly to her room. She had just sat down at the desk when someone knocked on the door. Niecheng stood outside with a dark face. "What? Where's the pot?" Niecheng asked coldly. Niecheng was about to cook something for Xie Yan when he realized that the pot was gone. How would I know? Would I eat the pot? Shisheng rolled his eyes and slammed the door. Looking for a pot to find her here? What was wrong with him? Niecheng was hit in the face by the wind. He looked at the old door and didn't come back to his senses for a long time. This woman actually dared to shout at him? He even dared to slam the door? Niecheng wanted to knock on the door, but he was afraid that Xie Yan would come out, so he gave up and went out to buy a pot. In order to make a perfect attack, he had to activate his cooking skill. The Shisheng could smell the tempting aroma of food in the room. Shisheng pursed his lips, grabbed the computer on the table, and turned it on. The desktop was a mess, and the computer was running at a very slow speed. This girl was so poor that it made one's hair stand on end. Shisheng found a few folders on the computer. The folders didn't have titles, and the titles were a string of letters that seemed to be randomly typed. Shisheng clicked on them. 2 of them were pictures, one was an account and diary, and the other was a novel. The pictures were of the original host and Xie Yan, and some of them were of Niecheng. The 3 of them went out to watch a movie or eat together. Every time the original host and Xie Yan took a picture together, Niecheng would intentionally or unintentionally leave the picture, creating an awkward picture of the 3 of them in the same frame. The account was a record of how much money the original host spent every day. She even recorded the amount of money she spent on the bus. Shisheng continued flipping through the pages and found 3 of the bigger accounts. One of them was a notebook, which cost more than 6,000 yuan. However, Shisheng didn't see that brand of notebook in the original host's room. The other one was 3,000 yuan, which was just a number without a description. The last one was 5,000 yuan, which was a phone. Shisheng also didn't see that brand of phone in the original host's room. Shisheng searched his memory, and according to the time, he soon found out where these things went. The original host gave them to Xie Yan. Shisheng. This stupid girl. The last folder. Shisheng clicked on it. There were 7 novels in total. 5 of them had names, and the others didn't. The 5 named novels should be Xie Yan's novels. Shisheng thought that the original host only saved her boyfriend's novels. However, when he clicked on it, he found that 2 of the novels had been edited. Shisheng opened the web and searched for Xie Yan's pen name, Yan Yeji. Many pirated novels popped up on the web. Shisheng found the original website and clicked on the author's column. The latest novel was called Divine Beast, which was a slash story about cultivation. Little Show was a divine beast, while Little Top was a cultivator. The homonym for this novel was Divine Show, which was very suitable for the theme. The latest update was a week ago. Shisheng compared the original host's documents and found traces of editing in the last chapter of the novel. Shisheng. He seemed to have found something incredible. Xie Yan's novels were edited by the original host? Shisheng clicked on Xie Yan's earlier novels and compared them with Divine Beast. It was easy to see that there was a big difference between the 2. Even if Xie Yan was improving, boys and girls would have their own fixed habits when using certain rhetorical techniques. Xie Yan's rhetorical techniques were obviously different from those of the later novels. Xie Yan's popular novel was called The Pampered Son, which was about the abuse of modern rich families. The update coincided with the time when Xie Yan moved into the original host's house. However, Shisheng didn't find these things in the original host's memory. It seemed that the original host had forgotten all these things. Shisheng looked at the remaining 2. One of them only had a synopsis, while the other was a suspense story. It had already been written. It was only about 150,000 words long. The pen name at the end was Xiane. Shisheng spent some time reading this novel from beginning to end. The writing style was beautiful, the plot was interesting, and the relationships between the characters were complicated, but not chaotic. If he sold the IP, he could definitely sell it for a good price. The original host's writing ability and plot construction were good. If she became an author, she would definitely be popular. Shisheng didn't know the original host's purpose for writing this novel, so he didn't touch it and kept it well. Since the original host didn't tell him how to deal with this novel, he wouldn't touch it. Shisheng couldn't tell whether the original host helped Xie Yan edit the novel or not. What if Xie Yan edited the novel and sent it to the original host? So, Whether the original host helped to edit the novel or not, he would know when Xie Yan updated the novel next time. Shisheng registered an author's account on Xie Yan's website. It was such a good opportunity that he couldn't let go of it. It was his dream to trick all the readers in the world. Digging a hole, Shisheng went online. Chapter 731. Shisheng spent the whole night writing the outline. At dawn, she finally finished the first 3 chapters and posted them on the website. Shisheng yawned and stood up from the chair. She stretched and sighed. So poor. She glanced at the phone that was still plugged into the charger. After a few seconds of hesitation, Shisheng unplugged the phone and pressed the power button. She thought she wouldn't be able to turn it on, but the screen lit up quickly. Of course, the battery was lagging. Luckily, it didn't crash. Shisheng waited for a while before she began to read the incoming messages. They were no different from the ones in the original owner's memory. They either called her shameless, sent her threatening pictures, or photoshopped photos of her. The original owner was a young girl, so it was normal for her to be scared. Shisheng scrolled for a while, and a few more messages came in. Shisheng shook her head, took out the card and threw it away. She would buy a new one when she got out. Why didn't this girl change her card? Shisheng didn't sleep the whole night, and slept until the afternoon. There was a noise in the living room. Shisheng sat for a while before she got up. She put on her slippers and opened the door to look outside. Niecheng was tinkering with something in the kitchen. It smelled good. Shisheng curled her lips. She remembered that she hadn't eaten for a long time. She changed her clothes and prepared to go out for dinner. Xiaoyi. Shisheng was about to go out when Xie Yan's voice came from behind. He was holding the door and looked pained. Shisheng looked over, and Xie Yan immediately squeezed out a smile. You haven't eaten yet, right? Let's eat together? Niecheng heard the noise in the kitchen, and came out with a dark face. He glared at Shisheng. No need. Shisheng pushed the door open. She couldn't eat with these 2 people. Xie Yan shuddered as the door slammed shut. He looked at Niecheng and saw the dark expression on Niecheng's face. He tried to explain himself. She's a girl. Niecheng sneered. She cheated on you. Why are you still so protective of her? Xiaoyi isn't that kind of person. Xie Yan defended. Niecheng took 2 steps forward, pinched Xie Yan's chin, and kissed him in a domineering manner. After the kiss, he said in a gloomy voice, You belong to me now, remember that. Niecheng turned around and went into the kitchen. Xie Yan stood there until Niecheng called him to eat. Shisheng finished his meal and came back with a new card. Niecheng and Xie Yan were still eating. The 2 of them sat very close to each other. Xie Yan's face was flushed, and Niecheng had one hand under the table. When Shisheng came in, Xie Yan moaned. Niecheng looked at Shisheng provocatively, as if he was showing off. Xie Yan lowered his head and bit his lips. Shisheng was disgusted by the 2 of them. It was true. It's fine if you're in the room, but you're like this in the living room. Shisheng felt goosebumps all over his body as he walked back to his room. He had better chase these 2 people out of the room as soon as possible, so that they wouldn't dirty his eyes. Shisheng went back to his room and turned on his computer. There was already a short message on the website, indicating that she could sign the contract. Shisheng edited it according to the prompt. Before Shisheng could finish typing, the editor's message came in. Huayueke. Send me your outline. Ancestor. Huayueke. This pen name really didn't want to talk. Shisheng clicked on the outline and sent it to the editor. While the editor was reading the outline, Shisheng searched for this editor on the website forum, but Shisheng didn't find anything. But this was sent from the back end. It couldn't be fake, right? Maybe it was a new editor. Huayueke. Who's the female lead? Ancestor. Yang Niannian. Huayueke. She didn't know what the other party was doing. It took a while for her to reply. Huayueke. Change the outline and send it to me before 5 o'clock. Shisheng felt that there was nothing wrong with his outline. Ancestor. Why should I change it? I think the setting is quite good. Ancestor. What do you think is wrong? Ancestor. Say something. Shisheng closed the chat. Why was the new editor so cold? It was too difficult to deal with. It was better to change the editor. She immediately switched to another editor and abandoned the novel that only had 3 chapters in the beginning. Luckily, she had a lot of ideas and wasn't afraid of not having a manuscript. Shisheng was busy writing the novel while Niecheng and Xie Yin were busy cultivating their relationship. Shisheng went out to mail the contract. When he came back, he found Xie Yin sitting alone in the living room with his laptop open. "Xiaoyi, you're back." Xie Yin raised his head and greeted her with a smile. After flirting with another man in front of his girlfriend, he could still greet her as if nothing had happened. Did he think that the original owner liked him so much that she would forgive him no matter what he did? Or did he think that she was stupid and didn't know anything? Shisheng admired this little bottom. Shisheng glanced at his laptop. It was the same brand as the original owner's. Okay. Shisheng looked away, changed his shoes and entered the house. "Have you eaten?" Xie Yin asked considerately. Shisheng replied indifferently, "Yes, I did." Xie Yin replied with a no and fell silent. Seeing that Shisheng was about to enter the house, Xie Yin hurriedly said, "Xiaoyi, can you help me read the latest chapter?" Shisheng, "That's right. I don't have time. I'd rather dig 2 more holes than help you edit your novel." Shisheng went into his room. Xie Yin stood there awkwardly. Xie Yin felt that something was wrong. Shisheng finished writing and logged onto the website. He found that Xie Yin had updated a chapter. Shisheng clicked on the latest chapter. Sure enough, it was very different from the previous one. It was no different from his original novel. This stupid original owner. The readers also found that something was wrong with Xie Yin's chapter. However, the plot didn't change much. The readers just complained that the author was in a bad mood. Shisheng had just finished updating today's chapter. Hua Yueke sent a message to her. "Hua Yueke, did you change your outline?" "Ancestor, no, I'm not writing anymore. I let you choose. If you choose I will choose you." Hua Yueke. Hua Yueke didn't send her any more messages. Shisheng directly blocked her. Shisheng's typing speed was very fast. Her editor, Mosey, told her not to update so fast. Otherwise, she wouldn't be recommended. "Mosey, ancestor, you updated so much today. I just applied for a recommendation for you. Why are you updating so fast?" "Mosey, ancestor, are you there?" "Ancestor, I'm waiting for a recommendation. I'm so poor that I have to eat dirt." She was still in negative equity. She didn't have any startup funds. She wanted to sell the things in her space. However, she found that it was very troublesome to sell them in this world. She needed a proper channel and all kinds of certificates. It was very difficult to sell a product like her, unless it was someone she knew. Mosey. The editor was probably furious. However, Shisheng's novel was very creative. The editor thought highly of her. Therefore, even though Shisheng was updating like a cheat, the editor still tried to get her novel recommended. Chapter 732. Shisheng's editor didn't have many authors under her, and even fewer were good authors. Almost all of her recommendation spots were given to Shisheng. If the editor's recommendation spots were given to the right person, she would get a god. Shisheng was having a good time, but Xie Yin was having a hard time. Because of the sudden change in style, the readers couldn't accept it. After a few chapters, many people gave up on the novel. Xie Yin was haggard and didn't even want to see Niecheng. He hesitated for a long time and finally decided to go to Shisheng. "Xiaoyi." Xie Yin knocked on Shisheng's door for more than a minute before Shisheng opened the door. "What's up?" "We haven't seen a movie in a long time. I bought a ticket. Let's go together." "Niecheng isn't coming." "Xiaoyi, Niecheng and I are just friends." Xie Yin immediately shook his head. "Didn't I explain to you what happened last time? It was an accident. Xiaoyi, trust me." "Ha! How dare you say it when you already did it?" Xie Yin raised the ticket in front of Shisheng. "Xiaoyi, this is what you wanted to see the most. Let's go together." "Who the hell wants to go to the movies with you?" "No way." Shisheng slammed the door. Xie Yin was locked out of the door. After a while, he knocked on the door. There was no response. He took out his phone to make a call, but the number was not in service. Xiaoyi, open the door. Xiaoyi, Xine, open the door. Let's talk. Xie Yan's voice was a little angry. During this time, he was pestered by Niecheng. Although he was living under the same roof as Shisheng, they didn't have much interaction. Shisheng didn't want to talk to him. The most important thing now was to make money and then kick these two people out of his house. On the first day Shisheng's novel was published, it rushed to the top 10 of the website's sales chart. The top 10 sales were all 10,000 yuan a day. On the third day, it was in the top 3. In the first month, Shisheng's income was 100,000 yuan a month. However, after receiving the first payment, the readers found that the author's updates were drastically reduced. After receiving the first sum of money, Shisheng didn't write any more articles and directly rushed into the stock market. Mo Seed. Ancestor, you haven't updated for 3 days. When are you going to get better? Ancestor, I'll update when I have time. Cute Seed. Aren't you so poor that you have to eat dirt? Ancestor, no. She was rich now. Although she wasn't even a millionaire, she was still rich and didn't need to eat dirt. Mosey was speechless. She actually stopped updating a good article. Previously, her updates had been so fierce. She was about to make a god, but in the end, she said that she wouldn't update for a long time. The editor fainted in the toilet. Now that he had money, Shisheng immediately paid back the money he owed to his boss, Sister Hong. There's no hurry. You can use it first. Sister Hong was worried that the Shisheng didn't have enough money, so she refused to accept it. I have money. Shisheng put the money on Sister Hong's counter. Thank you, Sister Hong. Sister Hong shook her head. This child. She turned around and packed a few bags of snacks for Shisheng. Take them back and let me know if you need anything. Shisheng took out a 50 yuan note from his pocket and put it on the counter. Then he rushed out with the bag. Sister Hong didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she looked at the 50 yuan note. She wanted to give it to Shisheng, not to sell it for money. Shisheng ran too fast and bumped into someone outside. He looked up and saw Niecheng's gloomy face. He suddenly reached out and grabbed Shisheng, dragging him to a corner where there was no one else. Xine, what have you been talking about with Xie Yan recently? Niecheng questioned fiercely. Xie Yan wasn't answering his calls or replying to his messages. Even his room was locked from the inside. Shisheng flung Niecheng's hand away forcefully. I didn't say anything to him. Who knew what was wrong with Shisheng? Maybe he was on his period. Niecheng threatened. Xine, I'm warning you. Break up with Xie Yan now. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Shisheng sneered. Oh, you're going to use those dirty tricks? Niecheng frowned. How did she know? But it wasn't a big deal. It's good that you know. It's just a matter of a few words if I want you to lose your job here. Niecheng said arrogantly and strode away. Shisheng was speechless. What a domineering man. If you want I to lose my job, you have to be alive first. Idiot. When Shisheng returned, Niecheng was dragging Xie Yan out of the door. The three of them bumped into each other at the stairs. Shisheng was standing at the bottom of the stairs. Niecheng was dragging Xie Yan, but when Shisheng appeared, Niecheng pulled Xie Yan into his arms. Xing. Xie Yan panicked and tried to push Niecheng away. Niecheng lowered his head and whispered in Xie Yan's ear. If you dare to struggle, I'll kiss you in front of her. Xie Yan froze. Niecheng held him in his arms and walked down the stairs. Shisheng stood in the middle and didn't move. Miss Xine, please make way. Where are you taking my boyfriend? Shisheng asked with a smile. Niecheng said calmly, business. Oh, business. Shisheng nodded and turned her body slightly. Niecheng felt that Shisheng's tone was a bit weird. He got down from Shisheng's side. When they were about to turn the corner, Shisheng spoke slowly. You did business in bed? Xine is not. Xie Yan looked up and tried to explain himself. However, before he could finish his sentence, Niecheng interrupted. So what if he is? Nothing. Shisheng shrugged and smiled sarcastically. Control yourself. Don't get a kidney deficiency. Niecheng watched as Xine turned around and went upstairs. He was confused. Why did she react so strangely? Xie Yin wanted to chase after Xine, but Niecheng held him tightly and wouldn't let him move. Niecheng, what do you want? Xie Yin yelled at him. His voice was so loud that the entire stairwell was filled with his voice. Niecheng didn't say anything and dragged him down the stairs. When Xie Yin came back, his legs were weak. He found his and Niecheng's luggage outside the door. Xie Yin tried to open the door but couldn't. Xie Yin knocked on the door, and the door opened. Shisheng seemed to be waiting for him to come back. Xine, what is the meaning of this? Xie Yin pointed at the luggage on the floor and asked. I am chasing you away. Shisheng rolled his eyes at Xie Yin. Do you think I would still want you if you were slept with by another man? Xie Yan's face turned pale. He tried to explain. Niecheng was joking with you. I am serious. Shisheng looked at Xie Yan's slightly trembling legs and nodded. We're talking about the bed. It's business indeed. Xie Yan, did you bully Xine? The uncle who had been eavesdropping opened the door and walked over. I knew you were up to no good. Xine, don't be afraid. I will teach him a lesson for you. Xie Yan quickly explained. Uncle Chang, I didn't. Xine misunderstood. Chapter 733. Xiaoyi. Uncle Chang looked at Shisheng. He cheated. Shisheng said calmly. Uncle Chang's expression changed. He grabbed Xie Yan's collar and punched him in the face. I hate people like you the most. You're fickle-minded. Uncle Chang spat. What's wrong with Xiaoyi? What did she do wrong to you? Ahem. Xie Yan's face was swollen and blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Uncle Chang, let me explain. Explain what? Xiaoyi wronged you? You're not good enough for Xiaoyi. Uncle Chang dragged Xie Yan downstairs. The residents downstairs heard the noise and came upstairs. Seeing Uncle Chang carrying Xie Yan, they all asked what happened. This little bastard cheated on Xiaoyi. Uncle Chang snorted. What? Everyone was shocked. Uncle Chang said a few words, and everyone stared at Xie Yan angrily. Someone went up and took Xie Yan and Niecheng's things down. It was after work hours and there were many people in the community. Xie Yan was definitely the target of everyone's criticism. Shisheng followed behind and someone comforted Shisheng. Xiaoyi, don't be afraid. We won't let him bully you. Xiaoyi, don't take this scumbag to heart. You still have a long way to go. Someone was afraid that Shisheng would take things too hard like last time. Okay, I know. Shisheng nodded obediently. Who doesn't meet scumbags in life? Everyone was relieved when they saw that Shisheng didn't overreact. They were afraid that she would do what she did last time. Xiaoyi, listen to me. Xie Yan's voice came from the front. Several men had already dragged Xie Yan to the entrance of the community. His weak body was no match for these men. He was thrown out of the community. Shisheng walked from the group of women to the entrance of the community and looked at Xie Yan. Xie Yan, I dumped you. Remember, we didn't break up. I dumped you. Xiaoyi, you're right. The people behind him immediately shouted. Xie Yan's face turned pale. Xiaoyi, do you really have to be so ruthless? Pfft. Shisheng could not hold back his laughter. He laughed for a while before saying, You slept with someone in my house. How can I be so cruel? I'm not convinced by this theory. You. Xie Yan's face turned pale. Isn't it good that I dumped you? You can be with your new lover. Why are you being so pretentious with me? Xie Yan was being stared at by a group of people. He felt as if he was a naked man being stared at. Xie Yan felt humiliated. After all, they had dated before. Was there a need to let so many people know about it? Niecheng appeared in front of Xie Yan like a savior when he was at a loss of what to do. Niecheng helped Xie Yan into the car and packed his luggage. Before he left, he looked at Shisheng and said, Cindy, you will regret this. Shisheng. F*CKU. He was the one who asked her to break up with Xie Yan. Now that she had dumped Xie Yan, he still had something to say. If you're so awesome, why don't you go and rule the universe? Idiot. Xiaoyi, don't be sad. We will support you. If anyone dares to bully you, they will be going against us. Yeah, that's right. It's not worth it to be with that kind of person. I'm fine really. Shisheng gestured for them to stop. Thank you everyone. Let me treat you to dinner. Seeing Shisheng's insistence, everyone didn't refuse and brought their men to a nearby restaurant. However, when it was time to pay the bill, a group of people was worried that Shisheng did not have enough money, so they suggested going Dutch. Shisheng tried hard to persuade them to give up. She could still afford to treat them to a meal. On the way back to the neighborhood, Shisheng was left behind. When he entered the neighborhood, he saw the granny who had opened the door for her before. She was trembling as she walked out. This was Granny Yang. She was very nice to the original owner. Granny Yang, where are you going? Shisheng asked when he passed by her. Granny Yang was hard of hearing and did not hear clearly. Ha! Shisheng raised his voice. I'm asking you where you are going. This time, Granny Yang heard him clearly. I'm going to pick up my grandson. Shisheng was not a nosy person. After asking her, he walked her out of the neighborhood and left. When Shisheng got home, the computer that he had left open was full of messages from her editor. The lousy computer froze. Shisheng was silent for a moment. It was better to get a new computer. This computer wasn't even enough for her to play around with. Shisheng rebooted the computer. Although it still froze, it could still be used. Some of the messages from Mozzie seemed to have been blocked. Shisheng only saw that she was urging him to update. Mozzie's messages came in again when she came online. Mozzie, how did you offend Niecheng? Niecheng? What the hell? Ancestor. Mozzie. Niecheng rejected all the recommendations and benefits I submitted. Mozzie. How did you offend this black-faced Hades? Shisheng suddenly remembered that Niecheng was the editor-in-chief of the female channel. This male lead was amazing. He must have seen her information. After all, her sales were too eye-catching. It was only natural that the higher-ups would want to see it. Mozzie. How did you offend him? The editor was very agitated. This was the first author under her who was about to become a god. She could not believe that she was going to die so early. Shisheng tapped on the keyboard and a row of words popped up on the screen. Ancestor. Maybe it's because you touched his man. Mozzie. There were several frightened emojis behind the words. There was too much information in this sentence. Mozzie could not digest it. Mozzie. Does he really like men? Shisheng did not reply. Mozzie's messages kept coming in. Mozzie. Do you know Niecheng in real life? Mozzie. There was a rumor in the editorial department that Niecheng was close to a man. Mozzie. Ancestor, don't play dead. I know you are there. Tell me, who is it? Mozzie. Ancestor, I'm calling you Ancestor. Shisheng's mouth twitched as he looked at Mozzie's messages. This was not the work attitude an editor should have. Ancestor. Aren't you afraid of being fired for gossiping about your boss? Mozzie. I'm not afraid of him. Tell me, who is Niecheng with? A small editor was not afraid of the chief editor, who was the male lead. Amazing. She must have someone backing her. Ancestor, Xieyan Mozzie. Who was Xieyan? No one knew him. Mozzie was very nosy about Niecheng. If it were not for the excitement in her words, Shisheng would have suspected that this editor liked Niecheng. However, it turned out that Mozzie was just gossiping about who Niecheng was with. After gossiping, Mozzie jumped to the topic of erotic novels again. Mozzie, Ancestor, you should write erotic novels too. I really want to see your erotic novels. They must be very creative. Mozzie. Our website is now supporting erotic novels. With a gay boss, the direction of the website must follow him. Shisheng's novels sometimes did not even have a male lead. It was just a catfight between a few women. However, it was very interesting and the readers liked it. Why should she write erotic novels? It would be strange if people read erotic novels that did not have a male lead. Chapter 734. Little Ancestor. Niecheng wants to ban me now. Whatever I write is useless. Niecheng is such a vengeful man. Since he knows I'm on this website, he won't let me live. Mozzie, wait. Mozzie, 266 ******** 6 Little Ancestor. Why did he send her a string of numbers? Mozzie, your writing is so good. Niecheng can't do anything. If you add this account, You'll definitely become a god. Shisheng wrote purely out of interest. Previously, she made money because she was short of money. Now that she was rich, she didn't care if she could sign a contract or not. Thus, Shisheng happily let go of this matter. Shisheng went offline and went to the living room to get some water. However, there wasn't any water in the water dispenser. In the past, this was all done by the original owner. Xie was only useful. Shisheng put her hands on her hips and blew on her bangs. She was so thirsty. Shisheng went to the kitchen to boil water. However, she couldn't find a kettle. Most importantly, there wasn't any tap water. Shisheng. What a joke. Shisheng went downstairs to buy water. Sister Hong's husband was guarding the shop. He smiled and said a few words to Shisheng. Shisheng came out of the shop after drinking water. The shop was dark all around. Shisheng hurried back to the neighborhood. She took a few steps and paused. She turned to look at the street opposite. There seemed to be a figure standing under the dark streetlight. It looked like Granny Yang. Shisheng stuck out her tongue and licked her lips. She turned and walked towards the figure. Granny Yang stood under the streetlight. She stretched her neck and looked in a direction. Granny Yang. The surroundings were very quiet right now. She heard Shisheng's call and turned her head with a chuckle. Xiaoya. Granny Yang, it's almost midnight. Shisheng pointed at her phone. Your grandson won't be coming back. You should go back. Granny Yang's weathered face was reflected on the phone screen. She looked disappointed. Sigh, they're all busy. Shisheng didn't want to criticize others. I'll send you back. Granny Yang was probably unwilling to give up. She craned her neck and looked for a while before nodding. Go back, go back. Shisheng sent Granny Yang back. When he went upstairs, he heard some noises on her floor. Shisheng tiptoed up the stairs and looked outside from the corner of the stairs. Two men in black masks were opening her door. One of them even had a knife in his hand. If she had not sent Granny Yang off earlier, she would have been in the house by now. Just as Shisheng was sighing, the two of them opened the door and quickly entered. Shisheng took out his phone and called Yao Yaoling. There was nothing wrong with looking for the police. After calling the police, Shisheng went up and stood at the door, waiting for the two thieves to come out. About 2 minutes later, the thief with the knife poked his head out. Before he could see what was going on, a kick landed right on his face. The thieves were kicked back into the house. Shisheng opened the door and reached out to turn on the light at the entrance. One of the thieves was standing a few steps away. He was probably shocked by the turn of events. By the time the police arrived, Shisheng had already tied up the two thieves. The sirens woke up everyone in the community and they all ran over. Shisheng suspected that the two thieves had ulterior motives. However, the two thieves insisted that they were stealing. Shisheng did not have any evidence, so he could not accuse them of trying to harm her. The police would think that she was crazy. The police took the thieves away and said that they would contact her if there was any progress. After comforting Shisheng, the people in the community went home. After this incident, Shisheng put up a defense talisman in the house. When this Niecheng decided to be ruthless, he was much more ruthless than she had imagined. Shisheng's daily routine was to watch the comments on Xie Yan's book review. Although the style of writing had changed, the plot remained the same. Now that the plot had changed, many people expressed that they could not understand it. Xie Yan told the author that he had recently fallen out of love and was not in a good state. After pouring out his grievances, the readers who were about to explode started to feel sorry for Xie Yan. As soon as Shisheng exited the page, Moetzi sent a message to her. Moetzi, my favorite BL author has fallen out of love. The novel is not good anymore. Ancestor, when will you start to update again? Ancestor, did you just chat with me at work? It was such a good company. She wanted to work there. Speaking of work, Moetzi, I chat with a lot of people. Picture. Moetzi posted her chat with a lot of people. Shisheng counted at least 10 people. This girl was awesome. Ancestor. Does your company need editors? Moetzi, why? Do you have friends coming? Moetzi replied very quickly. Shisheng did not know if she replied first or if she was always so fast. Ancestor. I am going to apply for a job and see if I can get in through the back door. The male lead was there. She had to go and annoy him. Moetsi. Moetsi. Why did you become an editor instead of writing? Your monthly salary is equivalent to a year's salary. Moetsi felt that this author was crazy. Ancestor. I want to experience the feeling of being urged to write. Moetsi. I am speechless. Moetsi. Yes, but don't you have a grudge against Nyeching? Won't you fight with him every day? Ancestor. How can we not fight in this world? The host is talking nonsense again. When I ask you to fight, you run faster than anyone else. Moetsi. This author is causing trouble. Moetsi sent the recruitment notice to Shisheng. It would be more convenient for her to urge him to update at the editing department. Ha ha ha. She was so smart. Shisheng definitely didn't have Mo Seed in mind to send her a recruitment notice. Shisheng submitted his resume according to the recruitment notice. She had not graduated from university and Shisheng did not have much hope. But one day, she really received an interview notice. The interview location was in the company. Shisheng arrived early in the morning with a few other people. Some of them were fresh graduates, while others looked like they had been working for a few years. Shisheng, a hothead, was naturally listed as having no work experience. There were 3 people in the interview. 2 of them went in at the same time and explained their definition of online literature. Those who passed would go on to the next round. Shisheng passed the first round easily. The second round was an individual interview with different questions. Shisheng's question was to point out which of the 3 novels had the potential to become popular and explain the reason. The moment Shisheng went up, she sprayed all 3 books. The examiners all looked at Shisheng, stupefied. I didn't ask you to be a troll. I choose the 3rd novel. Shisheng changed his tone. The setting is mature and the characters have distinct personalities. The plot is reasonable and there are no obvious loopholes. Asterisk, come on. Vote. Vote. Vote quickly. I need you. Chapter 735. So why did you scold the male lead as soon as you came up? Although Shisheng did scold the male lead, she did not deny that the author wrote well. The examiner had reservations about such a weird girl. After a discussion, Shisheng entered the 3rd round. The questions in the 3rd round were even more perverted. Shisheng barely passed, and 2 other people passed at the same time as her. Both of them had work experience, but Shisheng did not have any experience at all. Shisheng had never seriously worked before. In the previous worlds, she was either rich or powerful, so she didn't need to work at all. Come over tomorrow to complete the procedures. Don't be late. The staff handed them a staff handbook. Take this back and read it. You don't need to memorize it, but you must know it. After the staff left, the other 2 began to talk as they walked out. Big companies are different. Even the staff handbooks are so advanced. You can do whatever you want when you have money. Work hard and become permanent employees. These 2 people knew each other. They used to work on the same website and were somewhat famous editors. Shisheng followed them downstairs. They did not greet Shisheng, so Shisheng naturally ignored them. When they entered the elevator, there were other people in it. When they saw them, they stopped talking. When they reached the ground floor and came out of the elevator, Shisheng heard people talking behind her. Hey, I heard that only 2 people are hired this time. Why are there 3 people? Did they get in through the back door? Look at that. She just graduated from university. How could she get in? I hate these people who get in through the back door. They occupy the toilet but don't take a shit. Yeah, we already have one in our editorial department. Now there's another one. The 2 people in front also heard these people's discussion. They looked back at Shisheng and then looked away in disdain. Shisheng. So why are you looking down on me? You're acting like you're not university students. Who the hell knows how to write when they're born? Shisheng did not really want to understand these people. Everyone wanted work experience, but no one wanted to give them a chance. How could work experience come out of nowhere? A bunch of idiots. Buzz. Shisheng's phone vibrated in his pocket. Shisheng took it out and saw an unknown number. Shisheng answered the phone. Xine, guess who I am? A girl's sweet voice came from the other side of the phone. Sheng was silent for 3 seconds. Cutie. Out of all the people she knew, the only one who had her new phone number and spoke in such a youthful and sweet manner was Mo Zi. There was nothing to guess at all. Ah. How did you guess it so quickly? Mo was a little disappointed. Did you pass the interview? Okay. Sheng continued to walk outside. That's amazing. I heard that the questions this time were especially difficult. Are you still in the company? We will be colleagues in the future. As a colleague, let me treat you to a meal to celebrate. Sheng thought for a while and rejected Meng Zi. She felt that this girl was up to no good. It was better for her not to be fooled. How dare you reject me when I'm so cute? Mo Zi roared on the other side of the phone. She just wanted to quietly urge him to update. Why couldn't he satisfy her? Sheng said calmly and shamelessly. I'm cuter than you are. I don't believe you. Wait for me downstairs. I'll check if it's real or not. Mo Zi hung up the phone in a hurry. However, when she went downstairs, there was no one there. Sheng walked out of the company and was about to take a taxi when a taxi stopped in front of her. The car door opened and a person she hadn't seen for a while got out. Xie Yan was also stunned. Xie Yan was dressed very formally. His flaxen hair swayed slightly in the wind. Xie Yan was quite tall, about 1.8 meters. He was handsome and handsome. He was the kind of guy who was very likable. Standing here, he was quite eye-catching. Xiaoyi. He opened his mouth. Before Sheng could respond, someone rushed out from the side and bumped into Sheng's shoulder. Xine, why are you still pestering Xie Yan? Sheng reflexively covered her shoulder and turned to look at the person who spoke. A tall and handsome man stood beside Xie Yan. He was slightly taller than Xie Yan and exuded the aura of a domineering CEO. One was handsome and sunny while the other was handsome and domineering. The two of them stood side by side and looked very compatible. Damn it, they were both domineering CEOs. Couldn't they change the model? Sheng suddenly thought of the perverted Guanjiu from the previous world. While being a domineering CEO was quite good. Which eye of yours saw me, LZ pestering him? Sheng blurted out in a fit of anger. She had triggered the catfight condition when she wanted to take a taxi. That was enough. Then what are you doing here? Niecheng looked at her as if he had seen through her. Xine, it's impossible between you and Xie Yan. Don't you dare pester him. F***ck. Where's I's sword? I was the one who dumped him. What's wrong with you being the male lead? Sheng took a deep breath and said with a fake smile. Sorry, I'm not interested in men who are under other people's bodies. Xie Yan's expression changed when he heard this. Xine. Niecheng growled. What? Sheng raised his eyebrows. There seemed to be something in his eyes, but it also seemed like there was nothing. The heat of the sun shone through his eyes. He was cold and gloomy. His tone was full of malice. Did I say something wrong? Are you the one who's under me? I can't tell. For some reason, her words angered Niecheng. He suddenly raised his hand and swung it towards Sheng's face. Sheng stepped back subconsciously and avoided Niecheng's hand. Xiaoyi. Xie Yan suddenly reached out his hand in horror and tried to pull her away. However, Niecheng pulled Xie Yan and Xie Yan pushed him. Sheng staggered. The wheels of the car screeched against the ground. Sheng reacted quickly, but his body couldn't keep up. He didn't manage to avoid the car completely and was hit in the calf. The car stopped just in time. A girl got out of the car and looked at Sheng helplessly. Are you okay? Sheng frowned and steadied herself with the car. He said in a low voice. Why don't you try? Damn it. She was hit by a car before she could even act cool. She was so lucky. I'm sorry. Let me take you to the hospital. The girl held Sheng with an apologetic look. Sheng waved his hand. It's just a small injury. Don't worry about it. You can go. If Niecheng didn't pull Xie Yan, she wouldn't have stepped back. It had nothing to do with the girl. How can I? The girl looked at Sheng's calf. Sheng's calf was numb and painful, but she forced herself to stand. I'm fine. If you don't leave, I'll extort money from you. The girl was speechless. Chapter 736. Niecheng and Xieyan were still standing there. Shisheng held her leg and limped to the side. The girl got into the car and left. Xieyan wanted to go forward but was stopped by Niecheng. Niecheng snorted and left with Xieyan. F***K. These two idiots. Where's I's sword? Shisheng was infuriated. She wanted to chase after them, but her legs were inconvenient, so she could only watch as the two left. I'll wait for you. Shisheng went to the hospital with difficulty. When she returned to the neighborhood, Sister Hong saw her. She thought something was wrong with her and talked to her for a long time. Shisheng finally escaped from her clutches. When she got home, she tidied herself up, lay on her bed and started to write. The next day, Shisheng was late because she couldn't move around. The staff who waited for her scolded her. In the end, they asked her about yesterday's incident and let her go. The three of them were led to the editing department. The company's official working hours were 10 o'clock a.m., but they had to clock in at 9 o'clock a.m. They could do whatever they wanted in the first half hour. The last half hour was used for meetings. At this time, some of the people in the editing department were chatting, some were playing on the computer, and some were eating breakfast. It was a mess. Everyone, quiet down. The person who led them in clapped her hands. This is the new editor today. Let's get to know each other. The noisy editing department immediately quieted down and looked at the door. The other two people came forward and introduced themselves. I'm Anna. I graduated from. I've been working for 4 years. I used to. I hope you can take care of me in the future. I know her. She's the one who made Anshi famous. I didn't expect her to come to our website. I know her too. I heard she's very good. After Anna's introduction, some people whispered. Although it was whispered, everyone in the editing department heard it. Anna seemed to enjoy the feeling of being flattered. She was a little complacent and said a few more words before she let another person introduce her. Although this girl's grades were not as good as Anna's, some people knew her. Finally, it was Shisheng's turn. Shisheng took a few steps forward and said calmly, Xine. There was no introduction of where he had graduated from, nor was there any introduction of his achievements. It was just 2 words. Previously, he only said that he would recruit 2 people. Now he has recruited 3 people out of nowhere. This person must have gotten in through the back door. I really don't know what the people in the company are thinking. It's boring. Let's do something. The editorial department felt that Shisheng had entered the company through the back door. However, Shisheng did not do so. The person who led them arranged positions for the other 2 and looked at Shisheng. Xine, you're in charge of the romance section. Is that all right? Seduction? The male lead is. Yes, no problem. There are seats over there. You can find a place for yourselves. You can sit anywhere. Anna and another girl chose the seats with better lighting, while Shisheng could only sit in the corner. At 9:30 a.m., the 3 new editors were naturally introduced to each other. The person in charge of the meeting was the deputy chief editor of the women's channel. Shisheng did not see Niecheng. After the meeting, Shisheng had just sat down when a girl rushed into the editorial department. She glanced around the editorial department and paused for a moment on Anna and another girl. Then, she directly pounced on Shisheng. Xine. She pounced on Shisheng so quickly that he almost did not react in time. I see you in person. The girl was very excited. She grabbed her arm and shook it violently. After shaking it, she finally reacted. Ahem, I'm Songmingzi. I know. Shisheng pulled his arm back. How did you know? Songmingzi stared at her. I heard your voice. Songmingzi had called her before. Songmingzi pursed her lips. How boring. You guessed it right away. Songmingzi was very familiar with people. She kept talking to Shisheng. The other editor of the romance section did not want to come up to Shisheng to hand over the work. This editor was about to leave, so Shisheng had to hand over the work to her. It was not until Songmingzi said that she was tired and went back to her seat that the editor came over to hand over the work to Shisheng. Romance was a niche genre. It was not as busy as other genres. There was not much to hand over either. Songmingzi was a very difficult person to deal with. In any case, Shisheng was convinced by her. In just one day, she had already told him all the gossip in the company. Moreover, Shisheng also realized that this girl was very popular in the building. Both men and women liked her very much. The only exception was the female editorial department of their company. Everyone looked at Song Mingzi as if they were looking at an enemy. Shisheng asked curiously, "How did you offend them?" "They're all jealous of my beauty." Song Mingzi snorted and handed over the snacks in her hand. "Ignore them. Xiao Yi, do you want to eat?" Shisheng. "I don't want to talk to a foodie." Serves her right to be jealous of the fact that she never loses weight when snacks leave her mouth. Shisheng had not seen Niecheng in the editorial department for a few days. He heard that Niecheng was on a business trip. One morning, when she had just checked in to go to work, a few figures hurried by outside. "Chief Editor Nye is back." The girls in the editorial department rushed to the door excitedly. Before they could finish their excitement, a few more people walked away from the elevator. The girls were even more excited. They stood at the door and blocked Shisheng's line of sight. They could not see the people outside at all. Chief Editor Shu is back too. Are Chief Editor Shu and Chief Editor Nye on the same business trip? No way. I saw that Chief Editor Nye and Chief Editor Shu booked different tickets. They should be back on the same day. Before the girls could finish their excitement, someone came to inform them of a meeting. However, when they arrived at the meeting room, they found that there was someone inside. They were told to use the meeting room next door. Chief Editor Shu would be using this meeting room later, so they had to use the meeting room next door. Niecheng saw Shisheng when he came in. His expression changed immediately. "Cindy, why are you here?" "I'm at work." Shisheng looked innocent. "Was she here for fun?" "Who told you to come to work?" "She actually came to work in his company." This woman was quite brave. Everyone was confused. Why did Chief Editor Nye have such a big reaction when he saw Cindy? Shisheng spread his hands. "Of course I applied for the job. I don't have any connections. Get out, all of you." Niecheng suddenly shouted. The others were even more confused. However, they did not dare to stay in the current situation. They all left the meeting room. Niecheng sneered. "Cindy, you're quite brave. Do you think you can take Xie Yan away from me like this? I've always been brave." Shisheng narrowed his eyes. "You can keep Xie Yan for yourself. I don't want him. Her man was so good that she could go to heaven. Why would she want Xie Yan? Why did Niecheng always feel that she was going to steal him from him?" "Good, very good." Niecheng gritted his teeth. "How dare she work in his company? Of course I'm better than you." That you're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.